Welcome in, everybody, guys. It's week 5. I got Dylan here with me and Matt from the Parlay crew subbing in for Alan this week. We're in the thick of it with fantasy football when bye weeks hit and injuries are hitting, and we're going to be answering sit questions involving, like Andy Dalton and Joe Flacco later in the day. But as always, this is our most favorite, show of the week. Me and Dylan have the most fun here. So if you guys want to, get in on the fun over the Discord channel, there are some free channels, but you really want to get into the nitty gritty with us, talk to Joe about his rankings, talk Matt directly about his bets that he's going to be going over today. DFS with Chris Robbin. We got a special guest appearance from a Mr. Corporal Eddy, coming later today. So it's going to be a fun show. But enough of that. You just got to go to fantasy6pack.net/plans if you really want to get in on the nitty gritty with us here at F6P. All right. That's enough of advertising. Let's move on to the fun stuff here. Matt, thank you so much for subbing in today. I know it was last second, but we really like to get our experts on here that know their shit. And I've been paying attention to you in the college, Discords. That's not a free channel, guys. You got to get a membership to get in on that channel. But Matt is just killing it with his college bets, so he's going to come on here and give us some of his locked and loaded NFL bets. That's enough for me, Matt. Take it away. It's all you.
Yeah, guys, thanks for having me for this morning's show. I always like talking bets. Dylan and Mike reached out. I was like, yeah, let's do this thing. Let's hop on here and let's throw some more bets out here. Guys, actually, it's kind of funny. Actually, one of my locked and loaded bets game is going on right now with the Minnesota Vikings, New York Jets. I had the line at -2.5. If you want to live bet something, I don't mind live betting the Vikings in this because it looks like they're kind of doing their thing here. So whatever that number is, I don't know currently what the live number is at, but if it's around the realm of like 6.5 or 7, even, I'm gonna take that and run. But guys, I have a couple really nice bets that I like going on in the NFL today. This is gonna sound a little gross, but all week I've been on the Washington Commanders +2.5. against the Cleveland Browns. It's in Washington. Jaden Daniels is balling out. You can see it each and every week. I think in fantasy, he's the number 1, 2, 3 quarterback right now in fantasy football.
Yeah, it's
yeah. Jaden Daniels been doing his thing. Cleveland, we had higher hopes for that team on defense, especially earlier on in the year. They're still an okay defense, but their offense is in disarray. I don't know what's going on in that organization, but they need some help, and they need some help bad. I am totally comfortable taking the Washington Commanders here at +2.5. Actually, I think, no, they're -3. It opened at +2.5, and they've already swung to be the favorites. I'm taking that number, and I'm running with that. If it was more or less like at 4.5, I'd be a little bit more skeptical, but when they opened up as the underdogs and it swung all the way to them being the favorites, Jaden Daniels is going to cook here, in my personal opinion. I don't think they're going to have much of a problem. So, Washington Commanders, I love that play.
I know Joe loves hearing that behind the scenes.
Yeah. You know he does. You know he does.
Homer.
Guys, another game that I do like. It's the team I'm wearing. It's my favorite team. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are -2.5 at home. Again, they opened up as the underdogs. Now, there has been some circumstances that have swung that, in my opinion, the other direction. You have no Micah Parsons today, no DeMarcus Lawrence. Trayvon Diggs is questionable. I think he's going to suit up, but again, he's not at full strength. What happened at the beginning of the year? You guys all know this, whether you're in the betting world, fantasy world. Everyone was on the Dallas Cowboys. Then you had the whole Jerry Jones not paying his players, going to wait till the last second to pay his players. That organization is in disarray as well. Like, sure, they move the ball on offense, but their defense, we thought that they were like this top tier defense, and they have been absolutely destroyed all season long. We know that what Justin Fields now brings to the Pittsburgh offense, he brings that dynamic rushing upside with the capability of throwing the ball. He hasn't looked absolutely terrible this year throwing the ball.
Right.
The running game, Najee was down a little bit last week, and Cordell Patterson took it over until he got hurt. But at home this week, don't see him having much of a problem moving the ball with all those defensive pieces out for the Dallas Cowboys. It is a little scary still taking Pittsburgh -2.5, or you can probably get it -3 if in some places, but I'm not too scared away of the Dallas Cowboys anymore. It's not a team that massively makes me nervous about betting their opposition. So I'm gonna throw my lines here in my ticket with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can take the spread. I'm actually even comfortable a little bit taking the money line here, playing in Pittsburgh. Okay. So I do like that. I do like that line.
I like that, man. It's a big game for Justin Fields too, not just for the Steelers in general this year. Kind of his career. Like, if he loses this game, Matt, with you being plugged into the Steelers a little bit, do you see them maybe pivoting to Russell Wilson, or do you think stuff would have to go pretty bad?
I think there is that possibility. I know that they keep saying that Russell Wilson's not at full strength. He's still got a calf injury. My personal opinion, I think that's smoke. I think that's noise. I think that's just everybody wondering what's going on in this organization. When is Russell Wilson going to make his start? I think they keep using the injury as a little bit of an excuse. But I think they're just trying to give Justin Fields as much time as he possibly can to show that impression, because we know what we're going to get from Russell Wilson, right? You're going to get 35, 40 throwing attempts, and your upside with him rushing is no longer there. I mean, he is just that much of a veteran quarterback. So I think they just want to see what the dynamic they have in Justin Fields, if he can be that franchise quarterback. But yeah, that's a good question, Dylan. I think if he messes up severely, I do think they could make the pivot to Russell Wilson.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, guys, I have a couple more plays here. This one's going to be a little this is kind of my long shot, but I kind of like the line.
We like long shots.
Yeah. This would hurt my my co-host's feelings, but he already knows that I'm on the New Orleans Saints this week. I'm on the New Orleans Saints plus 5.5
I like it.
In Kansas City. Listen, we saw what happened to the Chiefs organization. They lost Rashee Rice. Yes, Travis Kelce's still there. Everyone was panicking on Travis Kelce. Is he going to be a relevant tight end, just like the whole Mark Andrews thing? If you go back and look at stats and analytics, guys, Patrick Mahomes is not the quarterback of fantasy that he once was.
Thank you, Matt. Preach that to Dylan for me.
You can, I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't hear what I'm not saying. The guy is still an amazing quarterback, and if he's on your fantasy lineup, you're gonna start him. But go back and look. The last time Patrick Mahomes scored 20 fantasy points, it was like week 7 of 2020.
I was just going to say it had to be week 7 because I talked about it on the show. The last time Patrick Mahomes had 3 total touchdowns in a game, rushing or passing, was week 7 last year.
Yeah, and I think that's the last time that he scored you QB1 numbers.
Correct.
Right? So in my personal opinion, the Chiefs, they're still the team to beat. They're back-to-back Super Bowl champions. Their defense is really good. But I think at home, this could be I hate to say it, but it could be a little letdown game for Kansas City. The Saints were down bad, but if they play like they did at the start of the season with Derek Carr slinging the ball around and people making plays, I think the Chiefs could be in a little bit of trouble this week. So that being said, that is my non-favorite, to go this week. So I like the New Orleans Saints plus 5.5 or 6, wherever you can get that number. I like 5.5 more than I like 6. Once you creep up to that larger number, I tend to kind of stay away. But I like the Saints. I like the Saints this week.
Oh, man, I hear that for sure. That line seems too big. Like, the Chiefs aren't blowing anybody out. I don't see them winning this game by more than what you're saying. Like the 5 or 6 line, I totally get that. I like that.
I don't recall they've won a game by more than
I don't think they
this year.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that they have either.
Yeah. You guys are totally you're on the ball right there. That's exactly kind of the way and the rhyme and reason why I'm going the direction that I'm going is the Saints have a competent team.
Your co-host said you wouldn't really necessarily like it. Dion, our resident, watcher here. He's a Chiefs fan as well. He goes 80% win rate at Arrowhead for Mahomes. So I mean, this is a long shot bet, but
It is.
we like it's got a good chance here. I mean, you're losing Rashee Rice. Kareem Hunt was a little banged up during the week. So I mean, you're not getting all these reps. Maybe Xavier Worthy's the hero, but I just don't see it.
Right. Yeah. It's
the Chiefs might win this game outright for sure, but I don't see it by being more than a touchdown.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. That's why I like the number where it's at right now. I think this could be a field goal game. And then guys, my last game, the last play I have, it's actually another favorite, but it's an away dog, right? It's the Green Bay Packers -3 playing at Los Angeles, the Rams. I mean, what are the Rams doing? You've got Jordan Whittington, you've got Demarcus Robinson, you've
Tutu
got
Atwell.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell,
Kelvin
all
Parkinson.
very good complementary pieces, right? Like they can get the job done. Obviously, if you play in the NFL, you're a hell of an athlete, right? You're a good football player. But the Green Bay Packers are a team that should not be messed around with. Their offense is good. They've got a decent defense. Yes, I know they just lost to the Minnesota Vikings, but who would have thought that the Minnesota Vikings would be number one on defense in yards allowed, whatever it is.
They're killing it.
Not me.
They are. They're killing it. So, but the Green Bay Packers have a good team. Jordan Love just came back from his MCL sprain last week. I think he's going to be a little bit more prepared this week. They've got a good offense. They've got good weapons. The Rams, they just obviously do not look like the same powerhouse team. They're really kind of piecing their team together this year, I feel like. Those complementary pieces, they're not going to be able to get it done the whole time. Kyren Williams is a dude, but that's what teams know to kind of key on right now. They're willing to let some of these other Whittingtons and Demarcus Robinson, Atwells get some play to stop and sell out to stop Kyren Williams, in my personal opinion. So I like the Green Bay Packers -3, even though they're away. I think the Packers could win this by a touchdown or more.
Yeah, and I brought this up on our show yesterday too, Matt. This is going to be pretty much a home game for the Packers because there's not a ton of Rams fans in Los Angeles, and Packers fans travel so well.
Yep.
So I don't think the Rams have much of a home field advantage in this one, and I love this call too. I'm going to go and lock that bet in for sure.
Yeah. I don't know betting, but what kind of gives me CMC vibes from last year is Kyren Williams, the way he's just getting a touchdown every game. Like I feel like an anytime touchdown from Kyren Williams is not a bad bet at this point.
Not a bad thought either.
Yeah. And that's one thing, guys, I have been a little bit down on is my SGPs. I see some of these lines, like when I do spreads and just game bets, my record's pretty good. But man, when I start opening the can of SGPs, I look at these lines and I'm like, oh, that's too juicy. I've got to smash that.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Then it doesn't happen. But yeah, those are basically my best bets for the NFL this week. And then, like I said, if you're doing anything live, I'm taking what I can with the Minnesota Vikings. They're just a good team this year. And I'm going to ride the train until the wheels fall off.
Not only can you take it and run, you can take it in high step.
Yeah.
That was awesome, Matt. We really appreciate you coming on here and giving us some of your locked and loaded bets for the week. I know I got a feeling Dylan here is going to be going across the state line here to make some bets after the show.
Yeah.
But tell everybody where they can find you at and what you got going on here.
Yeah, so it's the Parlay Fantasy Football Podcast on any of the audio platforms that you listen to. That's where you can find us. But obviously, guys, we're partnered now with F6P. Can't be more grateful for them and everything they've done for us. So head on over to the YouTube page, Fantasy Six Pack. Give it a thumbs up, a follow. Guys, it's real simple to do. It's one little click. It's free. Then head over to fantasysixpack.net. Become an all-access member, guys, like Mike was saying earlier. Then you can join us in the Discord channel, and everything that they offer on the website is just absolutely top notch, guys. So head on over there because that's where you can find us as well.
The best part about it is Bug and Joe, guys. I'm really telling you, it is the best part. But thank you, Matt, for coming on here. Hopefully we can do this again. If we got a pretty, locked and loaded sub if we ever need it again, I think. But you have a great day. Good luck in your bets, man. And if you play fantasy, good luck as well.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Stuff, Matt. Thanks.
All right, now to bring on the head honcho himself, Mr. Joe Bond. I'm sure he was salivating after hearing those Jaden Daniel comments. Let's go. What do we got going here?
I'm loving it, man. I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's been a while, man, since you've had something to look forward to in Washington, and it's finally here. That's for sure.
Yeah, man.
But Joe, let's jump right into things, man. And looking at the quarterback position at your rankings, we kind of already touched on Justin Fields on how this is a big game for him. Joe, you have some confidence in him, ranking him as a top 5 quarterback this week, having him as your QB4. ECR is a little bit more down on him at still a quarterback 6. What gives you the confidence just to be able to fire Justin Fields up tonight against the Cowboys?
I mean, at this point, like, I don't know how you can't just throw him out there. The dude's just getting done. The rushing is there. When they get in the red zone, they like to use him as well. He's just scrambling out of the pocket, just running over people too, like to get into the end zone. It's nice. And yeah, I mean, Matt talked about it. This Cowboys defense is not scary anymore. And then they lose like 2 of their best pieces this week.
Yep.
I'm all aboard, man. Let's go get it. My dynasty team's
that.
loving it because I'm struggling with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields for the last like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I go ahead and draft Caleb Williams this year, thinking like, okay, I'm going to need my future quarterback. I may not have needed to take that pick now, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Lawrence has definitely been a big disappointment, especially in dynasty. That's for sure. Switching over things, looking at the running back position, we're going to talk about Mr. Najee Harris once again. Joe, you have him ranked as a top 10 guy this week as your RB10. ECR a little bit down on him. They have him just outside RB1 territory at running back 13. What are your thoughts on Najee in this same game here?
Yeah, I mean, it's really that they just don't have a whole lot else. Patterson's banged up and Warren's out. So, Dallas, except for last week, has given up a good bunch of points on the ground. I mean, what do the Steelers want to do? They want to run this ball as much as they possibly can between Fields and Harris. And with no competition there to take away work from him.
I don't know. After 19 yards on the ground, I don't know if Najee's trying to run the ball.
Yeah.
I'll give you Fields, though.
I'll take my chances with Harris, man. I think he's gonna have a game.
Yeah, I could see him finding the end zone, having a solid game as well.
Be the first time this year.
Yeah, that is kind of wild that's been the case. Looking at another running back, Joe. This is going a little bit deeper, and that's Mr. Chase Brown, who I've answered a lot of start-sit questions this week.
Yeah.
He had a good week last week, finding the end zone twice. BCR has him as RB28, just outside RB2 territory in flex territory. Joe, you still have him outside your top 30 as RB31. You're still seeing that Zach Moss is a much bigger part of this offense than Chase Brown. Do you think that was a little bit of a fluky week from that we saw from Chase last week?
I don't think it's that it's Zach Moss is like the guy. I think we're going to get more of a split now, to where in the past, the first 3 weeks, it was mostly Zach Moss. Like, he dominated the snaps, the carries. I know a lot of people, and I wrote about this in my usage article that you can find on Fantasy Six Pack. A lot of people are screaming from the mountaintops, "Oh, it's Chase Brown time. You got to turn the ball over to Chase Brown. He's so much better." Yeah, efficiency-wise, Chase Brown's awesome, but they are not going to go away from Zach Moss. They brought in this guy. They paid him for a reason. They like what he can do. So, you add in that it's going to be a split, right? And then you look at the matchup. The Ravens are one of the best teams against the run. So, it's a 50-50-ish split at best for him. And you add in a poor matchup, I'm not super interested.
All right. Fair enough there. Looking at the wide receiver position, this surprises me to an extent here, Joe. Looking at Michael Pittman with Joe Flacco today, ECR still ranks him as wide receiver 12. You're in on Michael Pittman with Mr. Flacco. You have him ranked as your wide receiver 7 this week. What gives you a bunch of confidence with Michael Pittman, who was kind of on the outside looking in on a lot of lineups just a couple weeks ago?
I'm looking at 9 targets, 6 receptions, and 113 yards in a game with Joe Flacco. Yeah.
Right.
What don't you like about that? Like, give me
totally
that
fair.
like all day. This is the Michael Pittman we've all been waiting for. He needs a quarterback who can throw the ball. It sucks to say, like, if the Colts want to stick with Anthony Richardson, and the jury's still out on him, he needs to stay on the field.
Yeah.
The jury's still out on him and whether or not he can be a good NFL quarterback. We love him for fantasy because of his legs, right? He may not last long in the NFL if he can't complete more than 55% of his passes, which he's not even doing right now. Joe Flacco can sling this ball still, man. So Pittman has to get out of Indy in order for him to have fantasy relevance, and we're being shown this with Joe Flacco behind under center this week and last week.
I have a feeling then you're pretty high on Josh Downs this week as well, with the wide receiver 8 finish last week in PPR formats.
He is higher than ECR, has him as his wide receiver 27. ECR has him wide receiver 32. Yep, so he is higher on Downs this week.
Smart.
I do want to bring up
top 10 ranker right now, top 5 ranker right now. Which one is it? 3. Top 5, top 3. Even better, guys. Listen to this man.
I definitely want to touch on this here, and that's Mr. Wan'Dale Robinson. Joe, you have him ranked all the way up to wide receiver 15 with no Malik Neighbors in the lineup. ECR still has him as wide receiver 25. I'm still a little worried, man, about Wan'Dale, because how many more targets can he physically see? Like, how high can his ceiling be here? You know what I mean? Like, he's already seen 12, 13 targets. He's a slot receiver. I don't know how much is really going to change here. What are your thoughts on Wan'Dale?
So I think what pushes him up, right? And when you look at it, you've got to consider a couple of things, right? He is. I'm trying to look at his finishes each week for PPR. So, like last week, right, when he saw the 14 targets, got 71 yards, he was wide receiver 17. So where do I have him?
15.
Yeah, no, right there. So, like, I'm not like putting him up where he doesn't belong, right? If he sees about the same workload without a Malik Neighbors there, that's what we can expect. And if he lands in the end zone, it's going to be even bigger. But the Giants don't really score points, so there's that. But he's just going to be peppered with targets. The reason why he's pushed down other weeks is because you can't guarantee that volume. He's seeing 8 for 1 week, 12 the next. It took a Malik Neighbors injury for him to see 14 again. Granted, it was a late concussion, but that's not consistently his game, in what's going to happen with him. But I think today you can kind of count on it more than the other weeks. When Neighbors comes back, Wan'Dale gets pushed back down into the 30s easily.
Okay. Yeah, totally fair. We're gonna skip the tight end position this week. It's kind of a nightmare. Not much different with the rankings here either, because I really want to touch on Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe, who you're a little bit down on. You have him ranked outside your top 12 wide receivers at wide receiver 14.
I don't like that.
In ECR, he's still a top 10 guy, ranked as ECR wide receiver 9. What's giving you a little bit of pause here about Marv? You got Trey McBride, who's now questionable with a rib injury. So I'm curious your thoughts here about Marv.
Marvin Harrison's an interesting take here, because I forget if you could forget what show I was on. If you could rank fantasy wide receivers based off of the first quarter, Marvin Harrison's number 1, like by a long shot. He like does all his damage in the first quarter and then like disappears. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Like, it's so weird. This guy is super talented. You can tell. Like some of the catches he's made are like, oh my goodness, it's just ridiculous. I know the matchup isn't like as scary as like, you see San Fran, you're like, oh man, like, oh, but they're actually not crazy good against receivers. They have improved over the last couple of weeks. But I don't know. I have a little bit of pause with Harrison and ranking him like super high. Honestly, I think some people are just ranking him that high because the name,
and like, oh, he's got the talent. He's got to. Well, he's done it once. I mean, he's been wide receiver 1. You know, that week he caught 2 touchdowns on 130 yards. That was 4 receptions. It's not like he's seeing like he's seeing a good bit of targets, 8, 11. I mean, last week was 6. Catching 4 or 5 balls, like you want your PPR, like your top PPR guys catching 7, 8. You know,
like Neighbors numbers.
I mean, Neighbors is crazy high, like, you know, for PPR. But, you know, you're looking at like the Justin Jeffersons and stuff. Like, you know, he's consistently catching 8, 7, you know, 6. He's seeing 8 and 7 targets and flip it on the different sheets here. But, you know, he's catching more passes, you know, getting the more yards, like Nico Collins, right? Just crazy amount of, you know, yards and receptions. Harrison feels like he kind of needs a touchdown in order to be up there right now, because he's seeing work, but it's not like producing much. His yardage totals haven't been there either. So yeah, I'm a little down on him.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that to an extent for sure, Joe. But as always, man, great stuff. Before we get you out of here, how about you go ahead and plug away with what you got going on?
Yeah, FantasySixpack.net obviously is where you can find all the stuff from all 3 of us and a whole bunch more. At F6P_Joe on Twitter, the number 6. Yeah, just hit us up, join the Discord, have a good time. Apparently it was White T-shirt day.
It's true that, yeah.
I think Matt had one on too.
I think he did.
JJ looks like he's gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
JJ, change quick. That's funny.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Take care. Good luck in the,
thank you.
Thanks.
Contest.
See ya.
See ya. All right, guys. Now you got to get those start-sit questions in here because JJ is now joining us to get them all answered for you. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you guys? It's one of those. I woke up, I forgot there was a London game this morning, so I was like, "Oh, football to throw on my other monitor here." So yeah, man, it's good. Are you guys getting to watch any of this game at all?
I have it to my right now.
Yeah, I got it on as well too. I was watching. I was screaming this morning because I got the Vikings defense and playing Mike LaPlant in a home league, so I was already hooting and hollering when Andrew Van.
Oh yeah, because I got the pick 6. Yeah. I did not see this coming. I thought this was going to be like a close game, but man, it's all Vikings.
I think the Jets might stink, man.
So I mean, when you think about it, like Rodgers wasn't great the last 2 years in Green Bay, and then he tore his Achilles. So like, yeah, it may just not be good.
I mean, the O-line is not doing any favors, and then Garrett Wilson is not helping him at all either. There's been a couple throws where it's hit Wilson's hands, and it's just dropping, and it's really frustrating me.
Yeah, it's making me sad.
The offense just looks so bland from the Jets. Like, it looks like they're just running a basic West.
Yeah, there you go.
And Nate Hackett bland. That's wild.
Nate Hackett and led by Aaron Rodgers' audible offense.
Yeah, who could have saw it coming?
With the slowest pace of play in the NFL. Yeah, it's man. I don't know. Let's go ahead. Let's get this question out of the way here quick, because I kind of want to get your thoughts here for both of you guys. Does Tyreek Hill have any trade value at this point with Tua targeting a week 8 return from IR? What are your guys' thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, when he's got Tua on the field, like he's top 3 receiver in the game. So, I mean, you know, especially in Dynasty right now, you can probably get him at even more of a discount, especially, you know, playing to like, you know, he's already over 30. He's talked about retiring in a few years. One more hit from Tua, who knows what's going to happen there. You can maybe even get him at a little bit of a discount. So, yeah, like I like buying him there. Redraft a little bit more risky, but I mean, that's the type of move that could win the league for you down the stretch.
I agree. That could make, you know, it could be a game-winning move, but I'm going to disagree with it. Like, I'd be trying to unload Tyreek Hill if I can right now, just because if you're, you know, let's say best case scenario, it is Tua coming back week 8. When has Tua struggled the most during a football season? Second half or first half?
Okay. No,
second half because of the weather.
For sure. Yeah.
So, like, even if we get best case scenario here with Tua, I just can't see a really great outcome where he is you know, top 3 wide receiver by
who are the lowest players you would trade him for right now? Like,
yeah, that's a good question. Yeah,
like hard to put you on the spot, but I was trying to think like redraft. Like, are you taking like obviously you're all the studs. Trying to think.
Like,
Would you rather have George? Would you trade him straight up for George Pickens right now?
Man, I think
maybe get a lower end running back. Let's just throw in.
I would like to get a running back.
Tony Pollard, like a Tony Pollard and a George Pickens. Would you from the Tyreek side, or do you like the other side better?
Would you? How about this one? I mean, I don't know. No, I was gonna say like because I don't know because Ayuk's been struggling. I was gonna say like, would you try and get an Ayuk, but convince the Ayuk owner with Tyreek Hill potentially, like even though Ayuk's been struggling?
That actually might be a pretty decent swap right there if you could get a running back in there as well. Like
I don't know if you're going to get a running back because
Ayuk Tyreek, like he's not doing anything either.
Yeah, like this is just pretty much a name value trade you're going off of right now because there hasn't been much production from either except Tyreek in week 1. But yeah, I mean, I talked about it on the show. I mean, Tyreek Hill in the 2 games now or 3 games now with the backup QBs, he's totaled 74 receiving yards on, or is it 86 receiving yards on 10 receptions? It's not much, man. Like he hasn't even cracked 100 total yards in 3 games. That's pretty brutal. Like I know Clayton, he specifically asked me a start-sit question this week, and I believe I told him to start. I told him to go with Tyreek Hill just because I didn't like Lazard because that was the other option. It was Allen Lazard or Tyreek Hill, and of course Lazard goes ahead and scores a touchdown.
Again,
but you can't bank on that, man. It's hard to touchdowns are one of the most non-sticky stats, and two of his 4 touchdowns on the year, Lazard, have been just fluky. Backup, QB throwing him a touchdown, and then you have where there was a flag. It was a free play, and Aaron Rodgers threw him a touchdown. So it's like half his touchdowns are fluky as hell. Yeah. So it's hard to trust that. Like Tyreek could literally take one to the house, and that's kind of like
get him a reverse or a screen or something, and then
exactly. Like, I mean, that's a tough one, man. But I guess best case scenario, what you could probably get is like Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, the last thing I don't understand how nobody in the world can complete a forward pass in this Miami offense except for Tua. Like it is the wildest thing. I do not understand it, man.
Put Tyreek back there. Maybe he can throw a forward pass.
And unfortunately, it makes me think a little less of Mike McDaniel.
Yeah,
that you can't figure it out. Like
Malik Willis came in and the Packers didn't miss a beat, man. Like,
right. And you're still trying to run all these timing routes with Tyler Huntley, who's been there for a week. What is going on?
Yeah,
it's
wild, man.
Gotta adapt.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely have to adapt. But let's get into a start-sit question here with Dion here. We got in his flex spot, DeAndre Swift or Kareem Hunt? Buying into what we saw from Swift last week.
We'll go Swift, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Swift on that one. I know you're chasing the points from last week, but at the same time, this Chiefs offense is going to be messy this week against the Saints. If you tuned in for the betting section, Matt I think is on it with a long shot bet. Taking the Saints with what was the points he said? 5?
5.5. I don't think it's that big of a long shot. Like I think the Chiefs could absolutely win that game. They got Patrick Damn-ass Mahomes. But winning by more than like a field goal, like a touchdown, I don't really see that happening. So getting 5.5 points in the Saints, man, I like that.
And I don't feel it being like a high-scoring affair either.
How do you feel about that, JJ, with everything going on with the Chiefs offense? With the
I'm going to start Swift here, just because I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty there. Like I feel like what's most likely to happen is we start to see Kelsey get turned back up a little bit. Like I mean, I just logically I think that's where they kind of have to go with it, but. Yeah, I don't remember who it was.
Noah Gray.
Or who I was talking to. I don't remember who I was talking to, but they're talking about like since Matt Nagy took over that essentially like Mahomes is just like a flat out different.
I seen that. Yeah.
Like his last time he said 20 points was like week 11 of last year, something like that. So like it's just not the same offense until we see some proof that it's going to be that same offense. Like I'm sitting Mahomes like for like Justin Fields, for Caleb Williams, foolishly
Sam Darnold even.
Yeah, I mean. But it's tough.
Joe Flacco or Patrick Mahomes. That's the question right now.
I would still go Mahomes there at that point. But like it's
that shows laughing in the background.
It's a bummer. Like I got like Mahomes. Like my last update, I had him at my number 2 quarterback in Dynasty. I'm to the point now where I'm like, I don't know that I wouldn't rather just have Jaden Daniels straight up in a Dynasty league. Like younger, got the rushing floor. We've seen him. Even if you're aggressive as a passer, like he's still going to be like one of the more accurate passes in the league, it seems like. So I don't know, man. I'm wanting to go back and kind of deep dive the Mahomes Chiefs for the last few weeks, but it's rough, man.
Yeah, and don't hear what we're not saying. You know, Patrick Mahomes is hands down probably the best player in the NFL.
Real NFL.
Hands down quarterback, yeah, but best player in the NFL. But man, he's kind of turned into Tom Brady. Tom Brady was the best player in the NFL.
They just want to be healthy in the playoffs.
Exactly. They're just worried about winning games and positioning themselves for the playoffs. That's all they care about. Yep, it sucks for us fantasy players, but they just don't care. I like this one, Dion. It's easy for me. I'm going to trust the process, even though Dylan, I have a feeling he's not going to. It's Pickens. With Trayvon Diggs, you know, he is going to play, but he's banged up. You know, didn't practice all week. I think Pickens can take advantage of that. I like the, you know, matchup against the Cowboys because I do think the Cowboys will get up early on the Steelers, which will then cause the Steelers to have to pass the ball. I mean, I look at it last week, man. If Joe Flacco, I know that, you know, Dylan said they didn't game plan it, but at the same time, it's Joe freaking Flacco. If you can let Joe Flacco dice you up, I think Dak Prescott can do the same.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that part. I think it's going to be a lot of fantasy points in this game, but I kind of feel like the Dallas defense is like one of the defenses you start everybody against because like it's going to be a track meet.
Except if your name's Devin Singletary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with you guys here. It's George Pickens for sure. I like that. But
I'm surprised you're not going with the hot, sexy name.
Yeah.
Nah.
Not there. Not there. Maybe later. Not there though.
What's up, Ryan? He's got Dontavian Wicks, James Conner, Devon Achane. Who's he starting in the flex today at standard scoring?
Starting Dontavian Wicks, I think. Unfortunately, here I don't trust Devon Achane at all. Conner would be my number 2 here. Don't love
I
it.
think I kind of lean Conner just because it's standard. Yeah.
Your safe play is going Conner because it is standard. He's just guaranteed probably the most yards, I think, or touches, essentially. And he's got the best chance to score a touchdown being the running back, not on the Dolphins.
Yes.
But if you want to reach for the stars and you had to play, you know, let's say like I had to play Drake London this week from this one over here, I'd go Dontavian Wicks in that scenario because I want a little bit of the ceiling.
Yep.
Yeah. No, well said, Mike, there. Next one there.
Oh, man, this one's a tough one. Good dynasty draft and getting Bowers and McBride. I think because of the situation with McBride being beat up, even if he is, you know, still playing, he popped up late questionable with, I believe it was rib injuries.
He's going to play, they said this morning, but yeah, he is.
It's banged up. Bowers is healthy. No Devontae Adams. You're going to have Surtain locking up Jacoby Myers. Like, you fire up Bowers and let it run.
There's like 4 tight ends that start over McBride, and Bowers is one of them. So yeah, you go that way.
And then he's got
absolutely. I'm with you for Bowers as well.
But I am starting McBride in 2 leagues, so like I am still firing him up. But yeah, if you got Bowers, like that's a great
yeah, I mean, to be honest here with you, like here's the thing. I mean, his next question is flex Ramondre Stevenson, Sutton, Leggett. I mean, I honestly wouldn't mind maybe going McBride in the flex here over Ramondre Stevenson.
Oh, Ramondre is definitely not in consideration for me here. I'm going Sutton or McBride here if I'm going one of the two. Yeah, Ramondre.
Someone remind me who Denver's got here.
Raiders.
I think I would lean Cortland Sutton there actually too. The matchup for Leggett's not great going against the Bears. I think he'll be okay, but I think you go Cortland Sutton here for me.
Little reverse psychology.
I feel like at some point the Andy Dalton floor is going to fall back out and he's going to go back to being Andy Dalton. So like I'm selling my Panthers like in Dynasty. I'm using this little small bump of value to get out of my Panthers right now. Jonathan Brooks, basically. That's the only one I want.
Are you selling Deontay Johnson with possible rumors of, you know, him getting traded potentially?
Oh, yeah, man. I feel like Deontay Johnson has, like, cruised off of, like, one really good PPR season early in his career. Then he's just kind of been an average, like a little bit of above average guy since then. So, yeah, hell yeah. I'd definitely cash out if I can get something good for him.
JJ, you talked about the Andy Dalton floor falling out at some point. How crazy is it in the year of 2024 that I had to answer a start-sit question this morning, JJ, of Andy Dalton or Joe Flacco? How awesome is that,
this, man? Yeah, man. I think that says a lot about like the new group that's developing quarterbacks. Like we can't find anybody better than these guys in 20. Like and not that they're bad. It's just like they're old. Like they shouldn't still be
Exactly
top half of the league quarterbacks. It's wild, man.
It really, yeah, man. Like when you got Mahomes struggling at the QB position for fantasy, like Trevor Lawrence hasn't panned out. There's also a handful of guys I can't think of off the top of my head, but yeah, I agree.
It's like the chicken before the egg. Is it the QBs not being able to run an offense, or is it the offensive coordinators not being able to adjust to their QBs?
Yeah.
A little bit of a bull. Are they rushing too many of these young guys in right away? Stuff like that.
Well, even if they are rushing them in, are they adjusting their game plan to help them adjust to the rush? Like you look at, Dylan, I give you crap all the time for it, but you look at Shane Waldron's route trees for the wide receivers. Like, do you think that's really helping Caleb Williams develop into this rush? No. Nobody's going over the middle of the field. Yeah. Like it's like I said, it's not everyone, but there is a little chicken before the egg type of situation. Is it the QBs not being able to just run an offense, or is it the offensive coordinators not being able to design an offense, for these guys that need a little bit more, guidance, training?
I think it's everything you said there, and then we're also like kind of makes sense with how things cycle, that we're in like a little bit of a defensive renaissance. Like the last decade, like what was getting teams separated was these new young offensive minded coaches that come in and run these intricate offenses and all these new motions. The counter to that, okay, we need to get some defenses in here that know how to scheme some stuff up, disguise what they're doing. Let's throw some weird looks at them, get some exotic blitzes going at them. So it's just kind of the next step that the defenses are going to make changes to take away some of that stuff, and then 5 years down the road, we'll probably be talking about, we have these new offenses coming in doing these new things. So like, we're just kind of in a defensive cycle backwards, coming back a little bit more towards the middle, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Defense is winning right now. This is a good one here from Richard that I want to answer for him. Go ahead, Mike.
I just want to say, Joe said in the private chat, it's bad when we have bye weeks and he has Mahomes ranked as QB 11.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right about that. Can you tell me what's going on with Breece Hall here from Richard?
I think we just covered it. I think the Jets just are not as good as we thought they were going to be, man. But like this one sucks for me. I had a lot of Breece Hall this year. Like he's my dynasty RB1, so I was snatching him up everywhere. A lot of them in redraft in like the mid to late first. Good start of the year, feeling good, but it is not looking great these last few weeks. But I don't know what's going on outside of. I think the Jets are not as good as advertised.
Like drafting a first-round running back in fantasy football and redraft this year has been a complete disaster outside of Saquon Barkley. Man, with Breece Hall and Bijan going in the top 5, McCaffrey still being ranked as the number 1 overall. Yeah, I'm with you, man. The offense is just so bland. Like it was nice seeing Breece Hall being involved earlier this year in like wheel routes.
A lot of passing kind of concepts, like getting like dump offs. Yeah, like that was great. What happened to that?
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't know. Mike, you got any thoughts here about Breece Hall?
There's really no excuse at the moment right now. I mean, I was going to try and make one here and say, the Jets are kind of getting blown out at the moment. You got to abandon the running game, but the guy can catch passes. Why are you not involving him more? He's only got 1 reception.
Plus, it's like the third. Come on, like you don't got to abandon the run yet.
How do you? Like you just got to get your main guy more touches. Like if Rodgers is trying to get it to Garrett Wilson, why is Nathaniel Hackett not trying to get it to Breece Hall right now?
Yeah,
agreed, man.
Oh man, is Aaron Jones out still? That's a bummer.
He was. Yeah, I saw that he was. Dealing with an injury.
That's real for a lot of my teams. If that's a real thing.
JJ, who you got here? Usa Korma, Patrick Queen, Pratt,
Dotson.
Need one.
I'll go Dotson.
That's where you're going.
Dotson. Who does Dotson play for? I have no idea.
That one is Seahawks, I believe.
Oh yeah, because they've got a lot of injuries going on with their.
Seahawks. Yeah, because he was with the Bills, I believe, last year. But yeah, I'll go Dotson here. He's been playing pretty well.
And we got another one here: Kyle Hamilton, Minka Fitzpatrick, Devon Witherspoon.
I'm always going to start Kyle Hamilton. Like even if he has a few rough patches, he's the one that interception, a forced fumble, and a freaking scoop score. Like that's not a surprising week for him if he has one.
And he's playing on the line a lot too. So like,
right. He comes in, he has a strip sack, fumble recovery. Like that's in his range of outcomes every single week. So I mean, Witherspoon's been very involved. So I mean, it's tough to keep him out too. But yeah, I'll go Kyle Hamilton here still. I'm just starting my studs up until they tell me.
Aaron Jones has been ruled out. Just so you guys know.
What was that?
Aaron Jones was officially ruled out for the rest of the game.
That's not awesome. Hopefully this is just hopefully he's back next week. That sucks.
Not good. KJ, where would you go from Fitzpatrick and Witherspoon? No, he needed 2 here.
I'll still go Minka there. I think that one's close though. Actually, like I think I don't have Witherspoon on any of my IDP teams, so I don't know his exact stats offhand, but I do feel like he's been pretty involved tackling this year. He's already got 13 tackles this year.
That's not bad for 4 games.
For losses, only 1 pass defense. I'll still go Minka there, but yeah, I mean you got good options there for DB.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
Todd out here.
Man, this one I don't feel good about it, and it's very close, Todd, but I still will lean Ford over Hunt.
Yeah, I think that's the right call there.
Just barely, though, and I don't think the Commanders' defense is as good as it is. You know how they've been playing.
Yeah.
So I do it's as ugly to say. Dylan will probably puke, but I'm high on Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper this week, man. Daniel Jones finishes a QB1 playing against the Commanders. Daniel Jones.
Yeah, he's not good either.
No.
Like, even in that he missed a lot of throws. It seemed like
So, Deshaun Watson last week, I hate it, but, I mean, he had a touchdown called back by a phantom holding call. Otherwise,
yeah,
it was
I linked. If anyone didn't see that, go check out my recap article from last week. Like I linked that holding.
That was nuts.
I was like, man, there was nothing on that. Like,
no, and Deshaun, and I think that was just because Deshaun Watson's a POS, but man, they're playing a primo matchup here where they can make Daniel Jones a QB1. I think, give me Ford on that one. I do like the Browns in this one. I still think Commanders win, but I think the Browns can keep up with them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you guys there. I think it's Ford. I still can't buy into totally into Kareem Hunt here because he looks so
I'm probably the
year.
highest on it.
I will by the time I'm willing to buy in, if it's legit, like everybody else will already have him, he'll be untouchable for me on that.
I liked what I saw last week.
Like anytime a veteran running back goes away and then kind of comes back, I'm just like, we'll see.
I like Hunt though. He looked good last week. It's just like, can he keep it consistent at his age? That's the problem. It's the same thing we had with Zeke and why I'm high on Dowdle. Aubrey, easy question.
Yeah, definitely. You're chasing Aubrey. Tucker I'm not going to say he can't hit from 50, but he's got something going on mentally where he hasn't been able to hit from 50 lately. So
if you're still using kickers too, you need to be changing the scoring to where anything over 56 points. And then Brandon Aubrey is one thing I have is like that. He's been freaking incredible every single week.
Yeah. Aubrey's phenomenal. All right, what do you got here? We got full point PPR. Either he's flexing Brian Robinson, Zach Moss, or Zay Flowers. It's close.
B-Rob is good to go. I saw this morning. He's pulled in, yeah.
It is. It's B-Rob for me. It's close though. I do man. I was talking with Dylan about this because I'm teeter-tottering here on the Saturday show. Usually Friday, I was down on Zay Flowers. We talked about it over the wedding. Like he's wide receiver 43 right now in total points. Wide receiver 47 in fantasy points per game. He's really only been needed when they're in back and forth games, which. This could potentially be one here with the Bengals. Like the Bengals need this game. Yeah. They cannot afford to lose to the Ravens if they want to really realistically make the playoffs. So this, like Dylan likes to say, this is a kitchen sink game for the Bengals. I feel like 100%. So Zay Flowers may be more involved than we anticipate, but man, I like B-Rob on this offense with the Commanders just a little bit more.
Yeah. I've been hyping B-Rob all year. That's my guy right now. Yeah.
Same. I like that all three of us are in on him. I like Brian Robinson here. That's where I'd go. But I said it on the show yesterday. Zay Flowers, Mike, you alluded to it. Zay Flowers is game script dependent, man. He really is.
Could be the game
he's
script.
A yards after catch guy. Because the Ravens obviously want to run the ball when they're ahead, and because that's what should happen. But like you said, they might not be ahead by a lot here in this game. So Flowers could be viable. In the 2 games they lost earlier this year, he saw 10 and 12 targets. So that's what makes it tough for Zay.
If you want to,
there's just no floor there. You're absolutely right, Mike. There's no floor for Zay, unfortunately.
If you want to reach for some ceiling, you're down 37 points or 35 points to Drake London, you can make an argument to fit Zay Flowers in your lineup. But you want to play it safe, I'd go with B-Rob.
Yeah. Man, I made an all-time trade 2 weeks ago with Kyle Pitts. I freaking bundled up him and Zay Flowers and got Nico Collins before the break.
Wow!
Wow! Man.
Looking back on that one, I'm just like, yes, I could not believe I pulled that off now.
Highway robbery.
That is, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, at least
Jordan,
for now, it's highway robbery.
where do you have Zay ranked in your dynasty rankings? Is he still a top 36 guy for you? Like,
let me pull him
more
up
so
exactly,
towards.
I can let you know exactly. I think he's still probably top 30. I mean, I like him long term. Like, he still needs second year, so I still think he's a guy that could be primed for like a third year breakout, especially like if the tight ends take another step back next year. So dynasty wise, I do still like him, but he is to the point now where you can probably find somebody that's on your bench that you could start over him until you kind of get him going a little bit. Let me see here. Wide receiver.
And JB, I feel that setting 35 lineups, especially when bye weeks start, man. I'm not at 35. I got down to 15 leagues, I think, this year. But yeah, I hear you, man, for sure. And Clayton, good to have you back, man. Way to get your lawn mode already.
I have him just inside the top 30 still. And this new
I don't want him on my lawn.
This new update I'm working on. Yeah, he's just inside there, but so he could maybe fall just out, but he's in that range, kind of like a wide receiver 3.
Jamie, we should get inactives here pretty soon, but JJ said that he saw them.
According to the sleep notification, yeah, he's supposed to go.
Yeah, so sorry, man, you can't play Roshan this week. I know
I don't think
you're itching to do so. You got another one from different JJ here. We got start Pittman, or I'm assuming that's DJ Moore. Start Pittman or DJ Moore. Need one of them to have a big game.
Bears versus Panthers. That's a good matchup for DJ Moore, but I also like Pittman with Flacco in there.
If this was Anthony Richardson with Pittman, I'd be starting DJ Moore, but since it's Joe Flacco with Pittman, I'm going to go Pittman.
I think that's the right answer, yeah. I mean,
Moore could have a good this is the matchup. Yeah. This is the matchup where if Moore could have a good game, I mean, it should have been last week too with the Rams, but that's my concern, where Pittman's going to probably be guaranteed at least 9 targets like we saw last week.
Yeah, I'm nervous on my Bears receivers right now. It's like the Shane Waldron thing, like you were saying earlier, man. It's just it like with how little the variety there is, you're literally just banking on one of these guys catching a touchdown. Like it's scary starting any of that. I think Pittman's the move here.
I'm still gonna go DJ. That's my DJ, so that's where I'm gonna lean. Might be a little homerism there, but another one from JB here. This is a good one. Foster Moreau, Kyle Granson, Ryan Flournoy.
So I like Flournoy in a deep league. Like he's going to finally see the field this week. Like there's a chance.
But Granson gets Flacco, man.
Oh yeah,
Foster. There's no Taysom Hill this week, so I might use him.
I think I'm Foster Moreau and Kyler Granson just because it's it's Flacco dependent. Just because it's Flacco dependent.
I think Granson's guaranteed. Like you got to get him in there, and then it's. If I need my safe 4 points, I guess I go Moreau. Like wanting the chance to get like 6 or 7, I'll go Flournoy here. Just
there you go. Yeah, that's fair.
Mm-hmm. If you need just like a small amount, go that way. Otherwise, if you need maybe a 0, but maybe a 6 or 7, go Flournoy.
I appreciate you listening to the show, man. Especially
why are you asking us about T, man? You're the one that should know on that one. You tell us.
Insider trader
or what? T. Higgins, Sermon, Hunt, Waddle needs 2 here for his flex.
I'm going T for sure.
The first
you gotta start your boy Burrow. It's T.
Yeah. Please get him involved this week too. That'd be sweet.
I'm sorry, you can't start Waddle at the state of the crisis that the Dolphins are in.
Flip your coin for which backup running back you like better.
And if you're between Sermon and Hunt, I will lean Hunt in that one.
Oh,
I'm going Sermon, but I will
lean Hunt in that one. That's the thing. I don't feel awesome with Sermon. I don't feel awesome with we discussed about it, like Cam Akers versus Trey Sermon. I would go Trey Sermon, but if you throw Kareem Hunt in there for me, I know I'm a little bit higher on him than you guys. I mean, he on the game-winning drive for the Chiefs, they rode him down there, and then they subbed in Perrine at the goal line. So give him that goal line, and we're talking about him as a flex play. Possible RB2 consideration here. So I really am higher on Hunt than most people. Give me Hunt over Sermon.
Yeah, I can't push back too much on it.
Yeah, I'm not going to either. I just don't agree with it. Start 2, Michael Wilson, Tolbert, Trey McBride, no tight end premium.
Still McBride.
Start 2. I'd go McBride and Tolbert.
What are your thoughts on Tolbert here as the Cowboys?
I don't want to
I'm
cap my
curious
seat. I don't want to cap my ceiling with
Tolbert, Flournoy, Jalen Brooks. Good luck, man. I think it's just going to be CD and Fergie. Like it's going to be CD, Fergie, and like the 5 extra catches will get split out between the rest of the people. Honestly, so I'll go Michael Wilson here. I kind of like what he's been putting together. It sucks starting the 2 Cardinals together, but I think that the ceiling's higher for Wilson than Tolbert.
Oh, we got good news. David Njoku is officially active for this week.
More Jordan Addison finally got a freaking catch. Let's go.
More reason on why I'm a little high on Deshaun Watson this week. He gets another player.
He doesn't throw to tight ends, man.
Bull crap. He's peppering Njoku.
Clayton had to start Tyreek Hill and Lazard. At least you got Lazard in your lineup, man. When Neighbors
worked out, man.
Injury bug is real.
Oh yeah, I forgot you told me that at the wedding, Clayton. My bad.
How does Darius Slayton still have a job as a receiver? He's atrocious. Darius Slayton thing, man. They need to do like a 30 for 30. What the deal is with Darius Slayton's career with the Giants this week, Clay. This might be the week with Neighbors out that. Every year, it seems like Darius Slayton catches the long touchdown in a game or two, and I feel like this could really be the week where he has a pretty solid week. I wouldn't mind playing him in a big tournament, MME tournament in DFS for sure. But yeah, his career is goofy. What do you got, Mike?
Richardson officially inactive and Evan Ingram officially inactive.
Oh, Sauce Gardner walking off the field. Looks like he got banged out.
Man, injury bug is real.
If Sauce was out there. Look, he's walking off. I bet he comes back in.
We got an interesting one from Diego here. Morning, Johnson. You got George Pickens or Deontay Johnson in the flex?
Ooh, that's a fun one.
That is a fun one. I think I'm with you this week, though, JJ. I think Andy Dalton's floor falls out beneath him going against the Bears, who are, if I remember the stats correctly, 3rd in sacks with 16.
Really good, yeah.
4th in interceptions with 5 through 4 games. So I think Andy Dalton struggles. Same with Deontay Johnson. Give me George Pickens.
Yep, I'm with you there. Basically the same exact logic.
Yep, I'm with Pickens as well. Deontay still might be okay because he's not going to see Jalen Johnson the entire game because they'll move him in the slot. They'll move him, put him on Tyreek Stevenson. But I don't expect big things, that I think Pickens could have put up some big points tonight. So I'm with you guys there.
And then Justin Fields, Derek Carr, Caleb Williams, easy Fields.
Yeah, this is the rushing floor. And then the Cowboys defense is pretty up and down right now. So like I said, I think everybody's a start against the Cowboys until they show any signs of being their old self.
Yeah, Clay, we touched on McDaniels, that it's a disappointment what's been going on with that. Definitely weird. Would you guys go Trey McBride over Zach Ertz?
Yeah. Now that he's in, man, there's like 4 guys over McBride. I'm starting him up.
Yeah, I would. Ertz isn't that great. McBride gives you run after the catch potential here, even banged up. Yep. Zach Ertz healthy does not give you run after the catch potential.
Is Kittle and Warner good to go? Both questionable. Have we got
Kittle I've seen. I have not heard an update on Warner, though.
Warner, I believe it said that he was expected to play. I have him in a league. I can look real quick.
Another reason. That's kind of why I'm down on James Conner a little bit this week. Fred Warner's a man.
Dude, Fred Warner is incredible. Yeah, he is expected to play.
All right. What's up, Khalil? Good morning to you as well. He needs some help in a standard for his flex position and his wide receiver position, boys. He's got Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, or Wan'Dale Robinson for his wide receiver. Let's start with just getting the wide receiver in there first.
Standard. I think you could eliminate Wan'Dale here with it being standard.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, that's a good observation there. Best observation of the day for you today, Dylan. Pat yourself on the back. And Steve-O Samuel and Stephon Diggs, Khalil. Don't overthink it.
Yep. We got any chance? Do we want to talk Clayton out of doing this, guys? Here,
I told him that I'd be starting Njoku over Gesicki, but
I don't think that Gesicki is the Bengals tight end you want to start at this point anymore either. I think
Eric All.
I think Eric All is going to be the guy you start seeing taking over more and more. I think you'll have Gesicki with a few spike games.
Gesicki's had one good week, and it was against the Chiefs, who allowed the most tight end points.
Eric All's had 4 catches in a row, 3 weeks in a row. I think he's going to be the guy that you're going to want to start out of the tight end group there. It's going to be limited ceiling just because of Chase and T. Higgins and everybody else around him. But yeah, I'm team Eric All at this point.
Yeah, Clayton, we'd go with Njoku. I think that's a sweep for all 3 of us. All right.
We got another one here. Yeah, well, we're not on the same page, Mike. We're losing it.
Never. Let's start arguing. Jason, what's up, man? This one, I mean, I didn't think it'd be this easy at week 5, but it's McBride.
It was always McBride. Yeah.
Well, I mean, week one, we're like, all right, I know it's McBride, but it's a lot closer.
That's fair. We thought at least Mark Andrews was still like a fantasy football relevant player in week 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this one's McBride, Jason. All right, we got one more. Dylan, pull up the other questions we got here while I'll get. All right.
You just pulled me off, man.
I said pull up the other questions, and I'll deal with the comment. This one's going to be more directed towards you, JJ, but I'll give my thoughts. Zach Allen versus the Raiders and Cam Hayward versus the Cowboys. I like Cam Hayward.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on who your other options are, but yeah, I think they're both fine starts this week.
Yeah. And then Clayton, yes, you're not the only one. Dylan did too, and he's playing him against me, and I hate it.
Yeah, could we... Vikings have a bye week next week. Do they deserve to be rostered through the bye week, or do you guys just keep streaming them, or do you just keep streaming? You're okay. Are you okay throwing them back out on the waivers, or would you rather keep them through the bye week if you have the room, man? Because it hasn't mattered who the Vikings play defensively.
And then,
like, I know that they gave up a lot of yards and stuff to the Packers last week, but that was a lot of garbage time. They were kicking the crap out of them. It's like
then they got the Lions coming out of the bye.
That's scary. The Lions coming out of the bye.
Then it gets a little better after that. Then you got Rams, Colts, Jags, Titans.
But do you want to roster a backup defense for 2 weeks and clog up?
That's what makes it tough. I mean, but at this point, Mike, you still might be able to start the Vikings against the Lions. It literally hasn't mattered who the offense is that they've played. They shut down San Francisco.
Usually you can't run against the Vikings, but I don't know. I get a strange feeling the Lions will be able to run against the Vikings.
The Lions yeah, they started to look more like themselves last week for sure.
Like I feel like the whole, skeleton key to beating Brian Flores' defense is getting the running game going. Because that's what he shuts down. He shuts down the running game, forcing you to pass, and then it's just, let the pass rushers go and get their guy. Then they were getting pressure. So, like, if you can run the ball against the Vikings, I think you can beat them.
Yeah. Sauce Gardner to the locker room. So that's not awesome.
Head injury, I think I saw.
Is that what it was? Concussion, probably.
Let's get back to some start sets, guys. I got some that I answered this morning. We got Austin Eckler, Kareem Hunt, or Alexander Madison. Who would you sit out of those 3?
One more time.
Austin Eckler, Kareem Hunt, Alexander Madison with no Zamir White.
I would sit Austin Eckler. Give me Alexander Madison as the starter, even though it's gross as hell.
Yeah, that's where I lean to. I think Eckler with a healthy Robinson.
Did they say if it's PPR at all?
Yes, it is full point PPR. Yeah.
That kind of makes me want to get Eckler in the lineup. I think, and who was the middle one? Hunt.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. I think I'll go Eckler, and then I actually think I go Hunt on that. Well, there's no Zamir, right?
No Zamir. That's why it's like I kind of lean Hunt and Madison.
I'll sit Hunt, but I'll go Madison, and then I'll sit Hunt.
We go back to the live questions here. We got a couple guys. If we're helping you out, everyone, if we've helped you out in the past, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel.
There is no limit on the amount of questions you can ask, guys. So if you want to ask as many as you want. We got the time here, and we're going to get to all you guys who are live here watching us first. Cody's got a good one here. Christian Kirk or Wan'Dale Robinson, full point PPR.
Christian
Kirk. I think it's Waddell for me still. JJ, what are your thoughts on Christian Kirk here? Decent matchup, too, for the Jags, and it's also a kitchen sink game for them. They desperately need to win.
Right. Like, they got to win and, like, just win this offense over the last 2 years. Like, when it's looked the best, it's when they're getting Christian Kirk going and setting up everything else for their offense. So, yeah, I think Wando's a good start. Like, I kind of want to find a way to get both in my lineup if I can. But, yeah, I'll go Kirk here. I think he's still the number one target. If they're going to move the ball, which, like you said, they got to. They against the Colts. I like Christian Kirk here.
It's so hard for me to start anybody from the Jaguars. Your safer floor, I think, is Wan'Dale Robinson with Malik Neighbors out, getting these guaranteed 12 targets. But I do believe from what we've seen from Kirk before in this offense, he offers you the higher ceiling, Cody. So if you're chasing points from Thursday night, go with Kirk. If not, play it safe, go with Wan'Dale. Keith, Dylan, I hope this is a foreshadow to our game today where it's just back and forth, back and forth. Keith here, love you for joining us, man. I hate the fact that, how many leagues we're in together. I kept seeing you get Derrick Henry in these dynasty trades, but he's got a good one here, and it just so happens to involve his running mate, Justice Hill or Jerome Ford.
It's Jerome Ford for me. Like Justice Hill is in that group of Ravens that they're going to cycle through where like two of them are good each week because they're game planned, and then the other ones are going to be kind of nothing. I think that Hill's more in that mix than like an every week staple.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think it's Jerome Ford, even though it's not sexy by any means. Justice Hill has shown that he's got a decent floor because of the passing game work, but yeah, I think it's Jerome Ford here still as well.
Yeah, it's Ford for me as well.
Then we got one from Clay. Do have to ask, what are we doing with Mixon going forward since it seems he just can't get healthy? I think you're just holding him on your bench, man.
Yeah, it's the same thing that Jonathan Taylor is now dealing with. It's this mild high ankle sprain.
Timeout. Aaron Rodgers is down on the field.
Oh no! What was the hit? Was it?
I didn't get to see the hit. I just looked over and he's grabbing the back of his leg.
Oh yeah, no, he's grabbing his left leg.
Don't do that. Good Lord.
All right. But yeah, it's I believe I saw, because I'm not a doctor. These mild high ankle sprains.
His leg got rolled up on.
Are 3 to 4 weeks to kind of really, fully recover, which makes it. Oh yeah, that looks painful. And he's screaming in agony.
Yeah, that's that view right there. Oof.
Not good. But I think you just keep mixing here because Jonathan Taylor's going to be going through the same thing where he's probably going to miss about 3 weeks. But yeah, if you got an IR spot, put him on the IR if it allows you to. If not, just keep him rostered, man. You can't let him go because the Texans right now cannot run the ball without him.
Agreed. Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Next one here, we got Ramondre or Tyrod Tracy PPR. Oh. What an interesting one here. I think I still lean Stevenson here. I know he's benched, but he's not going to not get action.
He wasn't benched. Let's not overreact. Yeah, he's not starting. But like we talked about it, on our show Saturday, like the only person that has a higher fumble per touch rate in the NFL than Ramondre Stevenson is Antonio Gibson, which is now the presumed starter.
It's like the Patriots build basically of like the Bill Belichick era. Like he would have had both those guys on the practice squad if they fumbled that much.
Yeah. So I still think Stevenson gets majority of the workload, even though he's not the starter. And it's the only argument I can make against Stevenson is you could probably say the Giants are a better offense than the Patriots right now.
Yeah.
This is
not by much.
I'm going to go Tracy and hope he catches some passes, man.
I can't. I got to go Stevenson, even with the fun. Man, but he's been brutal. But Tracy is just all off volume. That's all he is.
You're just hoping he catches some passes, yeah. Okay, Aaron Rodgers back in, so they must have just been being dramatic.
That sounds like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Got another one here, guys. Deontay Johnson, Dontavian Wicks, Brian Thomas. Who don't you play out of those three?
Dontavian Wicks, Brian Thomas, and who?
Deontay Johnson, Dontavian Wicks, BTJ.
I think I'm setting Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I don't like this. I don't like the Jaguars either, but man, Brian Thomas Jr. has a good matchup.
Like the real deal, man. Yeah, he's good.
I got one from Cody. Jordan Love or C.J. Stroud?
Texans. Who do they got? They got.
You picked we got 2 QBs from my 2 favorite games this week. This one's a tough one for me.
Okay, so you got Houston, Buffalo, Green Bay versus
Rams.
I think it's Jordan Love here.
I edge out Love just slightly. If Mixon was probably there, I think I'd lean Stroud, but the offense has not looked right since Mixon has gone out. They have 3 wins of single-digit points. They're just not blowing teams out, where the Packers could, potentially blow out the Rams this week.
Yeah, I think Love's the right answer. I mean, we saw last week he threw 3 picks, and depending on your scoring, still scored 20 to 30 points.
Yeah,
depending how you score quarterback. So yeah, you've seen the floor there. It's Jordan Love.
Yeah. Then we got Brian Thomas here or T. Higgins.
Oh, T. Higgins. I like Burrow and the Bengals.
Brian Thomas here on this one, I think actually.
I like Burrow and the Bengals. Burrow.
These guys are the same tier for sure this week.
Burrow does not win all his games against the Ravens, but he statistically pretty much owns them. 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions in his career games against them, averaging 268 passing yards a game. Like, give me that.
And we're out of week 4 now. It's usually week 1 through 4. The Bengals just look like crap before they decide to start playing football. So their real season, as of the last few years, has started this week. So they should be okay.
Kitchen sink game. Get T. Higgins involved.
I hope so.
Andre Stevenson, Kareem Hunt, Mike. Who do you like better there out of 2 guys who you're okay with? You're high on Kareem Hunt. What are your thoughts?
I am high on Kareem Hunt. What's the matchup for the Patriots again? Remind me.
They got Miami. It's going to be the lowest scoring game ever.
It's going to be a low-scoring game, but it is a better matchup. Saints are tough against the running backs on the ground. I think
35.5 game total for that game or something silly like that.
I still lean Ramondre Stevenson, but I think the higher ceiling is Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, that sounds right to me.
Yeah, I'm also okay with that.
Xavier
Leggett, George Pickens, or go ahead.
No, go ahead. I got one after you, though. I want to actually answer the question.
Xavier Leggett, George Pickens, or Tyrone Tracy here? I think that was easy. I think it's Pickens.
Yeah.
It's Pickens. So this is the one I want to go back to. You said you had an answer, but I want, JJ's thoughts, and I'll answer it as well. Joe Flacco or Andy Dalton this week?
Let's see here. So they've got Colts, Jacksonville.
And then Andy Dalton gets the Bears. It's Flacco on that one. I think Dylan went the same as well with Joe Flacco on that one.
The only one who was ever considered maybe elite at one point.
Now I want to get
the comment that just came in. I'm putting it out.
There it is for Clayton.
Yeah, Flacco's elite. Yes, that's right.
He's elite at getting his playmakers the ball.
Hard to argue against that from what we've seen the last year or so from him.
You guys like Matt Stafford or Caleb here? And they also added in they needed the highest score.
Stafford on that. I'm going Caleb, but
I'd go Stafford on that one.
Who's he throwing to even? Up there, I guess
he's going to be throwing a lot of garbage points. I think is what my expectation is.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Another one. This one's a bit deeper. McLaughlin or Raheem Mostert?
I hate this one.
I'll go McLaughlin.
Yeah,
standard. I go Mostert probably.
Yeah, if it's half PPR, it's still McLaughlin. But if it's standard,
go Mostert. Didn't specify.
Yeah, most likely McLaughlin there. But man, it's good luck picking the Broncos running backfield each week. It's
a couple live ones here, Dylan. Your brother here, he's got Geno with a 325 start, or Pat Mahomes Monday against the Saints, or Justin Fields Sunday night.
6-point passing touchdowns. You get a point for every 10 yards, not every 10 yards.
You pass the ball, you get a point in this one. JJ, just so you guys
Fields. I'll go Fields. I think still, unless I'm way off on that scoring. Yeah, I'll go Fields still.
Well, it just evens out the rushing floor a little bit more to where if you get a guy who throws for 300 yards, it's a guaranteed 30 points.
Yeah, probably still Fields, but Geno's probably a pretty good starter in this format, I would imagine.
He was last week, yeah. He was getting the 350 something yards, or I think it was, but I still lean Fields on this one, man. I can't start Pat right now. I told Gary earlier, if the Chiefs go out and trade for a receiver, then I can make an argument for starting Pat Mahomes again.
I mean, maybe it didn't really matter when they had everybody healthy either. So
no, it didn't, but I can at least make an argument. Right now, I can't even make an argument for Mahomes, besides the fact his name is Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Then cut him.
if I hate you. No one in their right mind is going to cut Patrick Mahomes.
No,
I went into it on the show yesterday, but now, unfortunately, you drafted Patrick Mahomes. Now Gary's rostering 3 quarterbacks, just destroying the depth there.
I wouldn't roster 3.
It's a terrible time.
2, though. I'd be rostering 2, though, because I told you, if you got a top 5, starting every week besides bye week, you're not even thinking about taking him out of the lineup. You don't need a backup quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is not that. I'm sorry. Right now, he is not top 5 locked and loaded every single week.
I just hate that it kills your depth, man. And you're already.
But yet you're over here asking us, hey, should we roster 2 defenses because the Vikings are going into a bye week?
I hear you, but that's a different scenario. I was just about to go into it, man. When you draft Mahomes early in a draft, you're already hurting for depth. You know what I mean? Because you're drafting him earlier than you're drafting most other quarterbacks. That's why I don't like it. So then rostering 2 to 3 quarterbacks with him, you don't love it. You might as well just drop him at that point if that's the way it's going to be. If he hasn't he hasn't scored 20 points since week 11 of last year, then he doesn't need to be rostered if that's the way you want to go about it.
No, I mean, but he has to be rostered. That's the thing.
Because he's Patrick Mahomes, that's what you're going to say?
It's name value. You're not dropping Ayuk because he struggled.
I feel like he's one that once we get to the second half too, where like they're getting closer to playoff seeding, that's when you kind of see Mahomes turn it up. I want him on my team when that does happen. Hopefully,
no one's dropping Jalen Hurts because he's struggling right now. No one's dropping Amari Cooper because he was struggling.
But also nobody's taking Jalen Hurts out of their lineup still.
I did. I mean, I did last week against the Buccaneers. I mean, you have to this week because he's on bye week. But I mean, like if you have a solid option, I mean, I was all off gut last week when I, took him out for Tampa Bay. But I mean, I had a solid option in a dynasty league where I could start Kyler Murray, Stroud, or Hurts, and I went Kyler Murray and Stroud. I sat Hurts on the pine.
I hear you. Glad we could talk about Patrick Mahomes again for the third day in a row, Michael.
Hey, it's going to continue to happen if he keeps continuing to finish QB 15 or 14 or worse.
Hey, Dave.
What's up,
nice
Dave?
to see you again, man. We got Kareem Hunt or Wan'Dale Robinson, full point PPR. I'm going to go Wan'Dale.
Here, yeah, full PPR, yeah.
It's ugly. It's brutal out in the streets there, man. But yeah, Wan'Dale Robinson, and it's going to be a 10 reception day for maybe 70 yards.
Oh, that may be high. Maybe more like
55. Another one for Keith here. We got Chase Brown or Trey Sermon.
I'll go Chase.
You want to chase? You chase points. If you want to chase points, go Chase Brown. We saw what his ceiling was.
Yep.
All right, but if you want a floor, just a solid floor, get you some points. Maybe I think Trey Sermon's probably going to get you 8+ points this week. I think he's guaranteed that as being the starter. So you want that floor, go Sermon. You're chasing points, go Brown.
Mm-hmm. Dion here. This is a tough one. You're not going to get a whole lot from Mahomes unless you're just getting by name value and someone who's really not deep into the fantasy football realm. So if you want to get something real, you probably have to trade Lamar. But then you're rolling with Mahomes.
You're telling everybody to start Mahomes, but at the same time, you're putting your foot in your mouth by saying you're probably not going to get much value for him right now, Dylan.
Lazard just about had another touchdown.
But yeah, I mean, if you can somehow swindle somebody with the name value of Mahomes, he's the one I'd be trading.
For sure.
But it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. Get those live questions in here, guys. We got about 7 minutes left here before we dump it off to the DFS. Gurus here. We have a special guest appearance by a certain someone who will be joining Chris Robbin this week. I know you guys will be excited to see Mr. Corporal again. I don't want to, ruin the surprise, but Dylan, what do you got for another question here?
We got Trey Sermon, Cam Akers, Tyrone Tracy, full point PPR.
Jesus, man, that's rough.
Trey Sermon here.
Yeah. I'm up to Tracy there too if they're being PPR.
Yeah, that one's rough. I'd go Sermon. I think Cam Akers, we can't see getting 8 points. Tyrone Tracy, maybe. I mean, we haven't seen it just yet. Maybe he PPRs his way there, but Trey Sermon's probably your best bet.
Yeah.
We got flex here, full PPR, need one. Brian Robinson, Cortland Sutton, Zach Boss, Xavier Leggett, Tyrone Tracy.
Brian Robinson.
That's where I'm going. Do you guys think it's just the worry with the injury why there's a lot of start-sit questions for Brian Robinson? Because I feel like he needs to be locked in lineups as long as he's 100% healthy. In my
if he is 100%, he's the B Robinson that actually is being successful this year. And
that's crazy. Yeah, I saw like a tweet that's like the dude that accidentally took Brian Robinson in the first round is crushing his fantasy league right now.
Yeah, 100%.
Not Bijan. Let me tell you, man.
This one was a tough one. I didn't really know where to go. Streaming QB, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Derek Carr, Caleb Williams.
I was reading comments. Sorry, give me the names one more time.
Lawrence, Watson, Carr, Caleb.
Give me Watson. I'm going to stick with it. I hate it, but give me Watson.
That was my number 2 choice. Would have been Watson there, so I don't think that's
when you're dealing.
I'll go Caleb.
When you're dealing with that tier of QBs where it's kind of just picking from a bucket of just, give me the guy with the best matchup.
All right, half-point PPR. Here it is, guys. We got our first Darius Slayton question of the day. Darius Slayton, Javonte Williams, Xavier Legette, Emmanuel Wilson. Half-point PPR, need 2. Slayton, Javonte, Legette, Wilson.
Javonte. Man.
Yeah, I'd go Javonte and Legette, even though I feel a Slayton touchdown in my bones, man. I really do. I mean,
still, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. I don't like agreeing with you, man, but I think Slayton. I get that feeling too that Slayton could have just that weird game.
Why not?
But I'd still go what JJ said, Javonte and Legette.
Yeah.
Are we to the point now where we're starting Tucker Kraft over Mark Andrews with him taking over for Luke Musgrave?
Yeah. I think Tucker Kraft's like a pretty solid lock for a top 12 tight end the rest of the way. Like that may be too low even, but yeah.
Can I change it up on you and give you a different Tucker in the
whatever you want? Yeah,
a Trey Tucker or Mark Andrews.
Oh, Trey Tucker.
I still go Mark Andrews there, but just hoping he catches.
I can't do it. I'd go Trey Tucker. I can't do it. I cannot do it. Someone who's running 6 snaps a game, I cannot start. I mean, 6 rounds.
I feel like Andrews is kind of like that group where I mentioned where there's going to be like if every week it's Lamar and Henry, and then there's going to be like 5 Ravens that just kind of get cycled in of which one's in the game plan. I feel like Andrews has got to be due for a game here this week, next week, where like it's his turn finally. So yeah, I don't know what's Trey Tucker been doing even.
What are the 8 and 10 the last couple weeks? I think
not bad. So he's been like 6 for 41. Yeah, I'll go Andrews and just hope for the best. But yeah, that's
wild. Next one, start 2 full point PPR. Ramondre Stevenson, Keon Coleman, Tyler Lockett, Keenan Allen.
Say that again.
Ramondre.
We got Keenan Allen, Stevenson, Lockett, and Coleman.
Keon Coleman.
Yeah, I'll go Coleman there. Lockett number 2.
Oh, really? I like Coleman this week. I would start Coleman out of that one, but I still have to go with Ramondre as my second.
I'm gonna go Allen and Ramondre.
I was already down on Ramondre coming into the year, so
I'm down, man. But Miami's run defense is god awful.
Need one full PPR. Cam Akers, Juwan Jennings. Well, it's only those 2. Cam Akers, Juwan Jennings here.
I guess
Juwan Jennings.
Yeah.
Chiefs are number 1 highest scoring, allowing points to tight ends. So they made Mike Gesicki relevant for a week.
Defensive questions. We got the Saints against Kansas City, New England against Miami, Miami against New England, Washington against Cleveland. Those are all pretty easy.
What was the first one?
The Saints.
I think I lean the Saints. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I want to start my Saints. It's so weird with Kansas City, man. Like I go on one hand, and they're not the same. But then I'm like, I don't want to start my defense against them. I think I'm going one of the Miami or New England just because I think it's gonna be a low scoring game, turnovers. So
I take it back. I'll go with New England.
I think I go New England too.
I think I do too. Yeah, that's weird. I think
it'll be a low scoring game for the Saints, but maybe not a lot of turnovers or sacks.
Yeah.
Next one here. Start 2 RBs. Javonte, Zach Moss, Austin Eckler, Trey Sermon.
I'll go the first 2.
Yeah, first 2.
Also okay with Javonte and Moss. So slightly over Sermon this week.
Yep. Javonte and Zach Moss.
Full point PPR need 1. Juwan Jennings, Austin Eckler, Justice Hill.
Oh man.
I'll go there, I think, but don't love.
I actually go Juwan Jennings, man. He hasn't had a game under 5 targets yet. So with everybody healthy, he still has a role in this offense. So I think that's where I lean still here.
Yeah, Taysom Hill ruled out. Yeah, give me Juwan Jennings.
Need to sit 1. Trey Sermon, Jerome Ford, Rashid Shaheed.
It's between sitting Sermon and Tyrone Tracy. I think I'm sitting Tracy in that one.
It's Trey Sermon or Jerome Ford.
My bad.
Tracy.
Yeah,
my bad. Yes, I said Sermon then. I mean, with the questions we're getting, it wouldn't surprise me if it was.
Yeah, we're at that.
Do we want to do? You can go ahead and take us out, Mike. We're right at 11 o'clock here, noon Eastern time. So.
All right, guys. If you didn't get any start sit questions, I apologize. If I will be behind the scenes to answer any of them during the next segment. But as always, this is always the most fun show we have during the week. It was a pleasure, doing it with you, JJ and Dylan. Dylan, start. Go ahead first, Dylan. Where can everybody find you at? What do you got going
here
on?
over on the F6P YouTube channel, man. I'm here Fridays or Saturdays whenever we do our Candy Shop Fantasy Football podcast, and then here Sunday morning enjoying the Sunday social with you fellas. But yeah, you can also follow me on Twitter at dclemons2222. JJ, take it away.
Yeah, same thing. Follow me on Twitter at DinoNFL. Everything I do, you can come through there, the YouTube channel here. So like, subscribe, become a member, all that good stuff. And yeah, follow me and let's keep winning some leagues.
Yep.
Again, if you need any dynasty takes, JJ is the one you want to reach out to.
Yep. See you later, guys. Good luck in your matchups. Except
not you, Dylan,
because you're playing me.
Dylan, we're enemies this week. Frenemies.
Rivalry game.
Take care, boys. All right, now it's time where you're going to win some money. And I know I always call these guys something or another, but these guys are the OGs DFS daddies. They're the first ones. Welcome on our special guest and our reoccurring guest, as always, Chris Robbin and Dave Eddy. It's good to have you two back.
I don't know. I always feel I felt uncomfortable going back last year when you called us the DFS daddies, but I've learned to live with it, I guess. So hello, Dave. It's good to see you.
Hey, yeah. Bringing the band back together, huh?
Absolutely. Maybe I should have asked you behind the scenes, but maybe Mike would know, someone would have known. I was just going to, go live 2 seconds in and go, let's do it like we're riding a bike. Hit us with some inactives and then we will move on because it's already whacked out. It's week 5, right? And I was behind the scenes watching you guys, Mike, the last 5 minutes of the broadcast, and we're in week 5, right? And it's already let's take some risk. Who cares? I mean, Ramondre Stevenson was in bottom of the barrel, and I got so many questions. Ramondre Stevenson going to be benched or going to be Gibson 50-50? So it's you can take it and spin it how you want. Is bench the same thing as getting a 50-50 work split with Gibby? So there's a lot to interpret this week, and it's going to be fantastic. Poof. Blink of an eye, week 5.
I love it. And just like that, poof, blink of an eye, I'll let you guys do your thing.
Chris, I will say I intentionally didn't reach out to you today because from us doing this, I like things to be as organic and real as possible. So absolutely. I didn't want to have any sort of conversation ahead of time so that we could just kind of do our thing and keep it real. But you want some inactives?
You really quick. That's why things work between us. If you do guest spots on other broadcasts or any, we're going to send you the show sheet ahead of time so you can, get your wits about you about the questions we're going to ask and the answers you want to give. I prep for my own kind of deal, but I never like to see the questions ahead of time or any of that stuff because I don't want to be like a robot. Yes, I like Tom Brady, but it's just hit me with the questions right in the moment and we'll go from there. So Dave, hit us with some inactives. And I want to put a special asterisk by Romeo Dobbs in Green Bay. What a weirdo. What a baby and what a weirdo. Green Bay has a chance to really, get rolling now with Jordan Love back and active in practice and stuff. And then some dummies always got to throw a wrench in the works. Thank God it's not us. Let's hear the inactives, Dave.
Yeah, I think these are pretty straightforward. I've been building all morning, but there's nothing that came out that I think was a surprise. But big ones, Khalil Shakir is out. David Njoku is active today. I know that Deshaun Watson is kind of popular today, and so I think that helps. We know Joe Mixon was out. Dameon Pierce is inactive. Robert Woods is playing today. That probably is less interesting with Tank Dell back, but whatever, right? Anthony Richardson, it says doubtful, but I don't think he's playing today. Jonathan Taylor is out. That makes me really like Joe Flacco stacks, especially in large field MME. He's going to go fairly under-owned. Not my favorite quarterback by any means, but I do like it. Brian Robinson is active. That is one that I was keeping an eye on a little bit. I don't have much Brian Robinson today, but that did kind of affect some things. For the later games, it sounds like Trey McBride is going to play. He's listed as questionable, but I think you can plan on him playing. You talked about, Romeo Dobbs. So obviously there's Christian Watson as well. Luke Musgrave is out. So, when we're talking, from a cash perspective, there's lots of Packers available today. And I would argue you could play up to 3 Packers in cash today, and it is actually okay. Zamir White is out. That one did catch me by surprise earlier this week. I think that makes Alexander Mattison interesting. It is a absolutely terrible game. But I think if you want to throw some Madison in there, I'll have to look in a second what his ownership percentage is expected to be. But I think that makes somebody in that game now playable. Devontae Adams, we know he's out. Maybe he'll be a Detroit Lion with Max Crosby here in a little bit, but I doubt it. And then Malik Neighbors is out, which makes things very interesting there as well. I'm sure we'll get into that. And then last here, I see George Kittle's listed as questionable. I believe he is playing today. I'm not sure if it's still a game time decision, but that's what we got there, Chris.
Yeah, beautifully said. And you, like everything, it's about 12:06 Eastern time. So we're looking at 54 minutes before the 1 p.m. lock time. So we have some time, and hopefully you'll hang out with us and play along, and on your phone, on your computer, you can or however you want to do it. In the meantime, while we're chatting and broadcasting and doing that, head over to the website, fantasy6pack.net. When you get there, there's so much to do. You can go to Dave's Twitter. It's right on the screen, at Corporal Eddy. You can go to mine, at Detroit Beastie. We have all the links in one spot for not only this week, but it's a reoccurring thing. You want to check out the IDP projections and rankings. We have them. You want to check out the dynasty rankings or the week 5 rankings. That's what this website is known for. High-end, award-winning top 10 rankings, week in, week out, year in, year out. And when you look at all the sports betting stuff, we have DFS, we have sports betting, parlays, just weird ideas and thoughts that you can find in the Discord. That's where Dave is there all the time, and it is free, but there are some premium channels, so you can try it out, see what you like, see what you want to get out of it, and we'll move on from there. When we look at week 5, I have obviously bottom of the barrel is out. You got your cash game plays. We're going to talk about them here. They're all over in the Discord, as I mentioned. And there's not, it's not surprising. It's not shocking. And what I was getting at is normally I, get my notes, and it looked like I fly over the slate in a plane and get like a 10,000 foot view. I don't really have any, witty or strong ideas this week, right? I got everything in front of me, and we'll go from there. When we look at the quarterbacks, Dave, you want to give it a whirl first from a cash game perspective. And I know, I'm sure we're going to link up a few times what we like together, and we're going to disagree. And that's the beautiful thing about not only what we do, but what everybody else across the league or the industry. I hate that term, industry. We're not logging. We're not making cars. We're just having some fun. So hit me with some cash game quarterbacks this week.
Yeah, I think it really boils down to 3 players, and if you had the money to spend, you could throw Lamar into the mix as well. But in reality, it's either Brock Purdy, Geno Smith, or Jordan Love. Normally, I wouldn't even put Jordan Love in the mix here this week, but like I said, there's so many Packers pass catchers this week where you can easily play 3 of them in a lineup. And I'm talking about Kraft at tight end, Wicks, and Reed. So if you're going to be playing, probably everyone's playing at least 1 Packer. A lot of people are probably playing 2, and I guarantee you there's people playing 3. Kind of naturally makes sense that if you've got that many guys, you throw Jordan Love in there. But Jordan Love was never a strong consideration for me in cash, because the reason you're playing Wicks and Kraft, for example, is just their opportunity and their price. It's not so much that we think that they're going to have 100 yards and a touchdown today, though for Wicks it is possible. So I've got Tucker Kraft in my lineup along with Jaden Reed. And to me, I look at Kraft as being just a punt tight end. So I don't really consider him as, he's in there because he's a pass catcher. He's in there because he's so cheap. So that got me off of Love. It was kind of a back and forth between Purdy and Geno. I just simply think that, the Niners score a ton of points today. Everyone but CMC seems like they're back. I could easily see him getting 30-plus points with, the Seahawks. they've got a Giants team which probably won't provide a whole lot of pushback. I think it's more of a Kenneth Walker game. Shocker, Kenneth Walker's in my lineup here as well. So for those reasons, that's why I got Brock Purdy in there as my cash quarterback, Chris.
Yeah, and it's a lovely way to say it. And I know it's not off the beaten path, but you did mention San Francisco is hosting the Arizona Cardinals here. Hey, buddy, everything all right? You better put a shirt on, or we're gonna get kicked out of. We're gonna get kicked out of StreamYard. We're gonna be banned like that teenage kid, that dummy kid. You see, I mean, this guy crashed his car, but he's like 20. He's in a Bugatti, and he's actively texting. And whatever website, Kick or Twitch or something, they said, you know what? That's unsafe. You're a dummy. So don't text and drive. And if you're going to go into a store or broadcast, just put a shirt on, definitely some pants. What I was getting at is Arizona's at Frisco. You mentioned them briefly in terms of everybody's back but CMC. I had a weird thought about 20 minutes ago I always had the final score, but I think San Francisco wins this one, scores 38 points, and I think Arizona scores 18. That's a weird, combo. That would be a scoregami, which means a game final score that's never happened before. And come to find out on FanDuel, at least, you cannot have that. You cannot pick that exact score. It's 38-17. It goes right to 38-20. So wherever you do your sports betting, look and see if you can find it. It'd be like roulette, right? It's 35-1 odds, 50-1, something crazy like that. So when I look at what I'm doing for quarterback in GPPs this week, Jordan Love is fantastic. And like I had told some folks, Dontavian Wicks is on the list, Romeo Dobbs, but he was he rage quit, as someone said, and even Tucker Kraft is the nice little punt play at tight end. And I mentioned him last week, and I paid, is it homage or homage, that you mentioned Tucker Kraft Thanksgiving like a year and a half ago, and he went nuts, and then he was rolling after that. But to me, I love I have it highlighted here, and it's in he was mentioned headline in bottom of the barrel, and it's Geno Smith, as you touched on briefly too. Seattle's playing the Giants. The Giants on paper 13th overall against opposing quarterbacks, but Geno was fantastic Monday night here in Detroit. They had some bad Seattle had some bad breaks. The Lions won, but the people hooting and hollering and crying over the missed calls, the DK Metcalf stuff. What can I say? Lions are finally getting some love and from the refs, however you want to put it. But I have Geno 24 to 25 completions, around 270 passing yards, and around 2 touchdowns through the air, 3 to 4 carries for another 20 yards or so. The rub with Geno, it's not even really a rub. If Geno can get to that 3rd touchdown, whichever way it happens, 3, another one in the air or 1 on the ground, I think Geno Smith has a chance here to be not the number 1 overall quarterback or the quarterback in a Millie Maker lineup, but he's going to do some absolute damage. One more QB, and we can move on. Trevor Lawrence. He's been, people have been saying, is he a bust? Whatever. I mean, what is this? Year 4, year 5 for him? And, there was a time and place Jacksonville was good and competing for, in playoffs and all that. Now it seemed up, wah kind of deal. But Jacksonville is absolutely desperate today. And as they say, a desperate animal or a desperate human being, those are the most dangerous kinds because they have nothing to lose. And Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars need to find a win today. And I think they're going to do everything they can to do that. And I have Jacksonville to score just shy of 30 points. So 28 total points. And if you do the math, you divide that by 7, that's around 4 touchdowns. And will he throw 4 touchdowns? It's possible, but I have him for at least 2. Indy 30th overall against opposing quarterbacks, 275 yards and 2 touchdowns from there. And I think everybody's off T-Law just from like a seasonal perspective. And this week, I guess you could say a lot of seasonal and dynasty stuff is correlating with DFS. Everybody's off Trevor Lawrence, that he's just been hounded and put down across the board here. I think there's a little sneaky chance here. And maybe, later on down the line, you and give an ownership percentage of T-Law. I'll put a little reminder in there once we get closer to lock and things start coming a little official. But Jaguars and T-Law riding a 9-game losing streak, and he's only putting up 182.3 yards a game. This is the week, and maybe mixing a little Bo Nix. I like a Denver stack. I did like a Denver stack until I came to the final score, but I'm still going to roll with it. I'd look like a fool if you go back on your word, if you have a strong opinion, but hey, we grow and we change on a minute-to-minute basis. I'm not playing therapist today. When we look at the running backs here this week, as I said at the open, Ramondre and Gibby, New England's playing Miami. That's a strong 1-2 punch, and we're going to put 2 New England running backs in the same lineup. I'll get to that here at the end of the spiel. But Dave, where are you going with running backs this week in cash games?
Well, for cash, I think Jordan Mason is locked in. I've heard, people talk about, well, hey, with, Kittle back and Ayuk and Debo and, everyone back, well, there's less work for Mason. And I completely disagree. I think, they're going to run the ball still.
Absolutely.
And if anything, I would argue that makes the offense more potent, which not only opens up the running game a little bit more, but also means maybe more touchdown opportunities. So Mason was a no-brainer for me. I got to look at what I got here. I thought Kyron Williams is interesting. Kyron Williams was probably my second favorite play, but he's just so expensive that it was hard to make it work. Kenneth Walker is somebody that I liked all week long. Originally, I had a little bit of a hard time getting him in, and then Tyrone Tracy became available. And he is so cheap that it made either Kyron or Kenneth Walker in play. I did like, Chuba as well the whole time. But, the way that my cash lineup was coming down was it was either I could play Chuba and the Broncos defense, which the Broncos was my top pick for defense this week. Or I could pivot. I could get K9 in there, but I have to play the Panthers defense. And, the Panthers defense is disgusting, but they are going up against rookie quarterback this week. Ultimately, though, what the decision came down to for me is, do I really care about defense? Not really. So it was either, do I really want to play Chuba or do I really want to play, Kenneth Walker? And I was like, well, I'm playing Kenneth Walker, and I don't care about, the Panthers defense. It's terrible, but they're so cheap, and it makes the rest of my lineup work. So those were the guys that were kind of in play. And a lot of people talked about Derrick Henry as well. I think Derrick Henry could have a fine game. I just couldn't I had a hard time getting up to Kyron, let alone trying to get up to Derrick Henry. So that's where my mind was at for running back this week.
Yeah, sound advice, solid advice. Where I'm looking at, DeAndre Swift is on my radar. He was the bottom of the barrel. I think that this is week 5, so I've written 5 bottom of the barrels, and I think when we add in week 5, I think Swift's been in the article 4 out of the 5 weeks. In last week, he popped off. It went well. Chicago's playing Carolina, and shout out to Keith. I think he's a little under the weather. That's why he's sitting this one out. Probably still, even when you're sick and you want to rest, he's probably still drinking that caffeinated Mountain Dew, and it's just ingrained into his being just to chug a Mountain Dew. But Keith, we wish you the best. We'll see you probably very soon. He said you can always run on Carolina, and you can. They're 31st overall against opposing running backs, and Swift does a little bit of everything, and people can never have a good thing for too long, especially in day and age of social media. People are always going to pick it apart, and the arguments aren't always as sound or good as one would expect. But Swift, 6'4" on FanDuel, 5'7" on DK, 16, 17 carries, around 70 yards, 3 to 4 receptions for another 25 yards. So we're right on the cusp of 100 all-purpose yards, and I think he finds the end zone. Chicago's another team I absolutely love to stack, but there's no secret there. They're going against Carolina. As I move down the list, I love the idea of Javonte Williams, Denver's playing Vegas. He finally, put something together last week. And it seems like Javante's been in the league 10 years and he's still only 24 years old. It's one of those things where he has all the talent in the world and he could be a high-end running back given his skill set and the way he's built and everything. But do you know Javonte Williams has yet to score a touchdown this season? That ends this week on 14 to 15 carries, 60 yards or so, and then 2 to 3 receptions for another 20 yards. And lastly, I love Jerome Ford. The Cleveland Browns go to Washington. Washington is this young up-and-coming team with Jaden Daniels as quarterback, and they're playing very well. Everybody's already congratulating the Washington Commanders on the selection and having your franchise quarterback. It's week 5. He's looked well, but let's calm it down. When you look at Cleveland, Nick Chubb has been back to practice, and my whole reasoning for this Jerome Ford thing is, do we think Nick Chubb is going to come back, after all this time off and just pound the football and be that 20 carry a game guy? It will get there. I mean, Nick Chubb is a stud as well, but Jerome Ford could be his last hurrah, let's say, as the Cleveland Browns RB1 here, 12 to 13 carries, 55 to 60 yards, and maybe 3 to 4 receptions for another 20 yards. So as I said, DeAndre Swift, Jerome Ford, and Javonte Williams. When we get a time check, it's 12:20 right now, Dave. So we have around 40 minutes before lock. And we'll move on from there. So make sure you get your lineup questions in the chat. Mike is there. And I know if there's something that stands out, we'll bring it up and we'll answer it as we see fit. But Dave, where are we going with the wide receiver position? That's where a lot of the action is this week is wide receivers.
Yeah, I think this week has been maybe the week so far this year where there have been the most options. I feel like week 1 and week 2, the builds were relatively straightforward. There wasn't a lot of ways to get different. And to be fair, in cash, you're not looking to get different. You're just looking to, play as many of the best possible plays as you can. And so this week, it's not that, you want to get different. It's just that there's so many avenues that you can go. I think there's going to be a lot of different teams out there. A lot of times, you see, quote unquote trains, where you've got 1 or 2 teams in particular where, the combinations are extremely high owned. And I think that you'll never get away from that in cash, but I think that there's not going to be that one massive train this week. But a wide receiver, like talked about the Packers pass catchers, you've got Reed and Wicks due to injury, especially for Wicks. But Jaden Reed with Jordan Love has always just been dominant. So Reed was a guy that I had locked in pretty early. I think Debo's really interesting. Debo's a guy where he's nice for cash because, he very well is going to get 3, 4, 5, maybe a few more carries. So that raises the floor quite a bit because he easily can score on one of those plays. So Debo was a guy that I was really leaning into. And then what do you do? What do you do from there? I mean, you've got guys like Michael Pittman, you got Nico Collins, even Deontay Johnson, Wan'Dale Robinson on DraftKings has just been getting so many targets. He's actually 4th in the league in targets, Chris. Can you believe Wan'Dale Robinson 4th in the league in targets? I couldn't believe it when I heard it. But
he's got the skill set. He's just, if I'm not mistaken, has never been able to put together a hunk of healthy time, and in a few, let's say 6, 7, 8 games or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. But Wan'Dale can get it going.
Yeah, and he's got an 8 out, I believe, of 4 yards. So he's getting, they're all short passes, which is why he's eating them up. But lots of ways that you can go here. Like I said, Reed and Debo seemed like they were, pretty well in play for me. I feel like there's strong running backs this week. So, how you want to round out, the flex spot with either a 4th receiver or a 3rd running back or whatever was interesting to me. What really made my decision was Anthony Richardson being out, Joe Flacco coming in. That not only opened up Downs, but that also opened up Michael Pittman. And, Michael Pittman, in the right situations, is one of the more elite, one of the more dominant receivers in the league. And so at his price tag this week, I was finding myself, having a hard time not putting Pittman in there. So Pittman's the guy for me, but I mean, Whittington is cheap, and he makes a lot of sense when they go with the 3 wide receiver sets. He basically is in the Cooper Kupp role, which obviously is extremely valuable. A guy like Deontay Johnson, what does he see now? He's seen, is it going to load? Yeah, he's seen 13 and 14 targets, each of the 2 weeks with Andy Dalton. He's pretty cheap, tough matchup there with the Bears. But yeah, there's a lot of ways you can go at receiver. Those are the guys that I was considering. And that was kind of my thought process this week.
Yeah, fair enough. And as you said, nice little transition here. Jordan Withington in LA. I like Tutu Atwell for not let's say the same deal, the same standard. Tutu Atwell, Green Bay's 26th overall against opposing wide receivers. And Tutu Atwell's always been, or we were been hoping all this time. He's a littler man, which isn't always bad. He's quick, he's shifty, he can move around and go from there. So I have Tutu Atwell, 7 to 8 targets, 4 to 5 catches, 65 to 70 yards. And as it stands, Tutu's averaging 20.3 yards a reception. So 2 catches on paper, 2 catches would be 40.6 yards. 3, just all you got to do is times the catch times 20. So if he's got 3 catches, times it by 6. In a perfect world, that's how it would work. So 3 catches could net him 60 yards. Will that happen? We shall see. There's some players, right? There's a combo. They're on the same team, whether it's 1-2 punch at running back or a 1-2 wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, that I have trouble,
I think we may have lost Chris, Dave.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was just on my end or not. So, all right, I will. I guess I'll move on to tight end here. And, at least until Chris comes back, I'll start off with the cash perspective. But the cash perspective was pretty easy this week. So I'll happily move into MME as well. But for me, it was Tucker Kraft, Colby Parkinson, and that was about it. I think you could get cute with like an Eric All, but that may be like the Michigan homer in me. It was Tucker Kraft for me almost from the get-go, and there's really no reason not to stay there. I think tight end's been a dumpster fire this year, so punting was always, kind of the plan for this week. MME purposes, he's going to be really chalky. I don't know his ceiling isn't fantastic. I don't know that that's where I want to go tremendously there. When I look at my percentages for the week, I'm actually higher on Parkinson for MME. And I think it's partly just to get a little bit different. Kraft is projecting over 30% ownership, which at tight end is, it's pretty dumb. And Parkinson, while 15% is still relatively high, that's half of Kraft. Plus, I'm playing a lot of Green Bay receivers. And so the correlation there kind of lines up with Parkinson as well. So other guys I'm interested in, Dalton Kincaid is interesting to me. He's going to be their top pass catcher, obviously with Shakir out. So that's interesting. I do like Eric All here more so for MME. He is super cheap. And his ownership currently is looking like it's, under 2%, which is ridiculous to me.
Flying under the radar.
Kind of. And, and maybe I should take a step back and explain, kind of why I'm so in on Eric All. And that's because I think that this Baltimore-Cincinnati game today has the opportunity to be the highest scoring game on the slate. These are 2 offenses that can absolutely go nuclear, put up a ton of points. And 2 defenses, specifically on the Bengals side, which haven't been giving up very much resistance this year. So for me, Joe Burrow stacks, I am so heavy on this week. And I love taking a game stack, making it a little bit larger by throwing the tight end on. That's always kind of a little trick that I've used in MME for a long time is, if I really like Burrow and Chase or Burrow and Higgins, for example, and the tight end position is I don't have anyone that I'm just in love with for the week. I like just tacking on that receiver just because it gives you correlation. It gives you a guy that you can play in there that makes sense with your lineup. and it kind of just gets that position out of the way. So Eric All's a guy that I have a lot of interest in. It's nice that he's so cheap. It's really nice that he's so low owned. As a matter of fact, spoiler alert, my Millie Maker lineup has Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and All in it as well. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I think that game could go crazy. And, you know, Baltimore has been so bad against the pass this year, and they're pretty solid at stopping the run. So, you know, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if Burrows pulls a Kirk Cousins, you know, and he goes for, you know, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and I soak all of that up in that lineup, you know, it not only is it going to be a little bit unique to go so heavy, but, you know, it also gets off some of the Henry, chalk as well. So, you know, because of that, you know, Zay Flowers is the guy that I really like as well, because again, it correlates well. Zay Flowers' ownership is pretty low too. Let me come back over here.
I believe it. He's been pretty rough. I mean, he's game script dependent, but like you've been saying, this is, you know, a positive game script potentially here for the Ravens.
Yeah. So Zay Flowers is showing right now under 5%. And, you know, I'm always surprised. Every time I watch Ravens games, I'm always so surprised at how involved Zay Flowers is. I just think of the Ravens as a run-first team, you know, especially because they have Lamar back there. But then you throw in Derrick Henry, the king of volume at running back. But when you watch, when they pass, it's Zay Flowers, Zay Flowers, Zay Flowers. And, you know, like I said, under 5% ownership. And I think, well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I love this game. I don't even know why this game on a whole is so low owned. But, you know, 2 targets last week, 4 targets the week before. You know, he's got 7.3 PPR points the last 2 weeks combined. So, lot going there. Now, I also don't think that that's going to continue. I mean, Zay Flowers is, I don't know about an elite receiver, but the role in that offense that he has is fantastic. So, anyways, that explains some of my Eric All love. I think a guy like Theo Johnson is interesting in MME. I expect they're going to be behind in that game against Seattle. So you're expecting some throws. Hey, Chris, I'm just finishing up some MME thoughts here on tight end. I'm almost done, so I'll kick it back to you. But I think that's interesting.
Sorry, I left you high and dry.
You're good. I think that's what makes Tyrone Tracy interesting at running back as well. As I think they're going to have to throw the ball. He's got some good, you know, pass catching chops. So does Theo Johnson. You know, we'll see what happens. Zach Ertz has been a guy who's popped up for me a little bit as well. Daniels can run, but Daniels can also throw the ball. So I like that. And Trey McBride's going to come in really under-owned. If you're playing San Francisco stacks, like a lot of people are, Marvin Harrison Jr. And Trey McBride, extraordinarily under-owned. Huge on Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. But Chris, why don't you go ahead and go on, since I just talked for who knows how long.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know, my computer crashed, and then while I'm, you know, waiting for it to update and upload back, and I'm probably still choppy. I was gonna, what's a fun way I can put it so I don't look like such an embarrassed a-hole? And I was thinking, I don't know why the first thought I had was, you know, in Christmas Vacation, when the cat chews on the Christmas tree, you know, on the cord and zaps it. I was like, Beastie chewed on the cord. She's okay, but it cut out my entire Wi-Fi and everything I got going on over here. If I'm not mistaken, I was stuck between talking about Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. They're on the same. They were on the same team, and I'm having trouble, you know, splitting them up. They don't play for Denver. Both of them, Cortland Sutton is on Denver, and my computer connection is absolutely toast. And we're going to go from there. Jerry Jeudy, Cleveland is playing Washington, as you said at the beginning of the broadcast, that you know, Deshaun Watson is a popular play this week. Cleveland, again, keeps getting so much, you know, flack, and Deshaun Watson keeps getting made fun of. But Jerry Jeudy, he's got at least 6 targets in each of the last 4 games. So 6 or more targets. I think we're looking at Jerry Jeudy around 7 to 8 targets, 4 to 5 receptions for about 50 yards there against Washington, who's 32nd. They're dead last overall against opposing wide receivers. When we look at Cortland Sutton, as I was saying, Denver is playing Las Vegas. Jerry Jeudy splits, and Cortland Sutton becomes the Denver Broncos wide receiver 1. The idea of stacking up Bo Nix and Cortland, the idea of stacking up Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton together really does something for me. The Vegas Raiders 18th overall against a 5-5 on DK, and I have Sutton for about 6 to 7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 55, or excuse me, I should say 55 to 60 yards. And I think Cortland Sutton will find the end zone this week. We're looking at around 12.8 yards a catch for Sutton. I don't know what came through or not, because you were frozen for a minute. I assume it was my computer. As
yeah, it was you, but
again. I apologize.
It was a little
to
choppy, but it
watching
came
this.
through.
You know, I've had a great. I don't know. That's my biggest pet peeve. You know, you watch a broadcast, or you're trying to really connect with what someone's saying, or, you know, give a comment to show love to whoever's broadcasting. It's like a Godzilla, you know, dub, where it's like the voice doesn't match that. And then here we go. The same thing is happening to me here today. My computer's going absolutely nuts. I don't know what the problem is with that. So I did mention Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. Hopefully those came through as clear as it could. Tutu I got to before I was rudely interrupted. We mentioned Deontay Johnson, you know, and all the targets he got. I remember he was in bottom of the barrel last week, and Keith and I were going back and forth, and then I don't even know what time it was. Obviously the 1 p.m. games had already started, and he sent me a wild text that you know, Deontay Johnson has like 9 targets in the like the first quarter and a half of the game. I think we see the same thing from George Pickens this week. Pittsburgh is playing Dallas. Dallas is 15th overall against opposing wide receivers. And Dallas, to me, it's like, do I know their record off the top of my head? Absolutely not. I don't, you know, we both probably know the Lions and maybe a handful of other teams. I don't know what Dallas is doing this season from an offensive perspective, but I know Dak and this offense can hang points in a hurry. And it looks as though, you know, Justin Fields in Pittsburgh are having some success. They lost last week. If I'm not mistaken, they were 3-0. Now they're 3-1. But George Pickens, $6,000 on FanDuel, $6,000 on DK, that you know, that every once in a while you get both matched up price tags on the same slate. Pickens 7 to 8 targets, 5 to 6 receptions, around 70 to 75 yards. George P averaging 14.2 yards a reception. And again, I don't think I think there's a case to be made. George Pickens is just absolutely not even very underowned, let's say, and we'll go from there. Josh Downs as well. Indianapolis is at Jacksonville. Jacksonville 28th overall against opposing wide receivers. And on one side, I said Jacksonville is very desperate. They're going to do everything they need to do, you know, to get a win and hang points and things like that. And if you're into Joe Flacco, which I know you are, and rightfully so, you mentioned Flacco and Pittman. What about Josh Downs? Finally, you know, came onto the scene, did what we had always expected him to do last week. He had 8 receptions for 82 yards and a touchdown last week. Will that repeat this time around? Very hard to repeat the same stat line over again, but Josh Downs, 6 to 7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions, 50 to 55 yards, I should say. Downs, 9.5 yards a reception. I know in the chat, a lot of folks are saying, you know, Josh Downs, Wan'Dale Robinson, as you said. Trace Sermon has been a popular choice, and I know there was in the Discord before we went live here at noon, you know, Trace Sermon or the other guy, right? And I was like, there's no way Trace Sermon's going to do anything of note. And I'm looking at Trace Sermon projections, and I think it was like double-digit carries, a touchdown, 60 yards. If that's the case, he could be an absolute wild card, bananas bonkers running back in a lineup that we see a screenshot on later today after, you know, the 1 p.m. games locker. The main slate is done and over with. We'll move on to tight ends. You had a what I assume was a very well-spoken, eloquent kind of tight end package while I was out, and my computer decided to update or turn off as it wanted to. Mike LaPlant behind the scenes here, just in passing with like 5 minutes before 1 o'clock, he said Mike Gesicki was made relevant a couple of weeks ago because of the targets, and we go for. I think Mike Gesicki is a wonderful desperation play for GPPs this week. Cincinnati's playing Baltimore. Baltimore's 30th overall against opposing tight ends, and in this game, Baltimore at Cincinnati, if this makes any sense to anybody, I have Baltimore to win the game. Who care? I really never care who wins the game, just the most points and what are we going from there. Baltimore will win 31-27, so you're looking at an ample amount of opportunities and yardage and touchdowns. And again, Mike Gesicki, we're going to do that same, meat and potatoes stat line for a punt tight end: 3 to 4 targets, 2 to 3 receptions, 30 to 35 yards, and a touchdown. If you don't have the touchdown, it's like, you're hung out to dry. But I think Mike Gesicki finds the end zone on 2 to 3 catches for 30 yards. As I said, we go down the list, can leave Tucker Kraft, not leaving Tucker Kraft off my lineups. He's in my notes, but we'll leave him aside for the discussion since we've talked about him a minute. And I know seasonal start-sit questions, he's been mentioned a lot here. The idea of Cole Kmet, being, a wonderful move in GPPs, it really rings true for me. Chicago's going against Carolina. And as I mentioned, Carolina 31st overall against running backs. Well, they're 28th overall against opposing tight ends. Kmet 5-2 on FanDuel, 4-3 on DK, 4 to 5 targets, 3 to 4 receptions, 30 to 35 yards. You talked about Zach Ertz as I, came back on after my stuff was booted back up. Cleveland 12th overall against opposing tight ends. But again, if you're punting, when you punt on a tight end, what's the first move you make? I look for a green matchup, a green DVP, and I work my way back from there. So far, so good for Zach Ertz. And I said it in week 1, probably week 2, 3, and here we are in week 5. Ertz is in the twilight of his career, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy the last few years of his career here. So it's like a use it or lose it kind of mindset with Zach Ertz. While he's active, while Washington is finding their self, and while they're rolling, and Jaden Daniels this, Jaden Daniels that, Zach Ertz is going to be, up on the field. He's going to be somewhat of a factor here. So give me Ertz, 2 to 3 receptions, 30 to 35 yards. So as we get a time check here, we're about 19 minutes away from 1 p.m. And again, we write, we broadcast, we fool around, and there's always, things don't go off perfectly most times in my life, at least. So we throw a wrench into the afternoon broadcast with a period, with me being down for a period of time, as they would say. And when we look over this entire slate, what are you doing? We might as well talk about defenses, or I know you wanted to do a quick fire kind of thing. And again, still about 19 minutes away from lock. So we're going to fill some time here and just say as we feel here. So Dave, what are you doing with DSTs? Anything that really stands out to you?
Defenses are always what I care the least about. And I think the perfect example of that is what I mentioned earlier with the cash lineup, where the Broncos are the team I want to play. The price is right for the Broncos. I fully expected that I was going to get there this week. Tyrone Tracy becoming available kind of mixed things around because it opened up a few more doors. And so ultimately, what my cash lineup came down to today was a 2v2 of either playing Hubbard and the Broncos defense, which is what I expected that I would do. But then, as I was looking at things, Kenneth Walker just was someone that I just was having a hard time not playing. But there wasn't a lot I could do. I didn't want to move off of Purdy down to Geno. I didn't want to move off Mason. I didn't want to move off of Debo. I didn't want to move off of Pittman. I couldn't go any lower at tight end. And so I got to thinking, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Why am I so stuck on the Broncos? Like, I don't give a shit about the defense. What can I do? And so I looked, and there was only a couple of options, but the Panthers were one that stood out. And I went, man, the Panthers defense, like, you and I could have a decent day against Panthers defense. Not only are they terrible, but they're injured. And I'm like, you know what, though? I really don't give a shit. And then if I want to give myself, a little bit of, I'm looking for the good. I think, well, they're playing a rookie quarterback he's had one good game. So, why not us? Why can't we play the Panthers and they get a pick six and, they score a touchdown and now it's a gold mine. So it came down to, do I want to play Chuba over K9 just for the ability to play the Broncos defense? And I said, absolutely not. I want to play K9. And if I have to play the Panthers defense to do so, I just don't care. So that's the way I look. I just don't care about defense. Now, when it comes to MME, I still don't care, but there's an exception to the rule. The exception to that rule is I don't want to play a chalk defense in MME. And what it boils down to is this. When you look at every position other than DST, price pretty well correlates to performance. Your higher price guys almost always score more points than your lower price guys. Obviously, you'll have your exceptions here and there, but for the most part, it holds basically true. Defense is the exact opposite of that. It does not hold true at all. It does not matter what the salary of a defense is. It does not correlate to production at all. So the way that I look at it is defense is the place where I just like to get unique, and you can't do that playing the chalk defense. So the first thing that I did for MME this week, I took the Broncos defense, removed them, set the variance extraordinarily high, and whatever shakes out is whatever shakes out at defense. I don't care. I just am not going to make a decision on a skill player based on, what defense do I want to play? I will always play the player that makes the most sense for my lineup. And then whatever I got left at defense is what I do. It's been like that for me forever, and I don't see it ever changing, Chris.
Yeah, and I know you're set in your ways. We've talked about that for a long time. Joked personally, we've joked live on air with other folks, and that's what makes Dave Dave. I'll ask you a question, rhetorical question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to. The New England Patriots are playing. They're at home against the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins have turned into, I don't want to say a riddle or an enigma. They just can't score points. And is Tua that big of a part of that offense? You'd like to think in professional football, one guy, it's a team sport. There's no I in team and things like that, like next man up. Like if Tua is unable to play, or if Stafford is unable to play, the next guy up. And obviously if the starter is out, the backup is not as good, or he or she would be the starter. But when Tua's gone down with the concussion and all the memes and joking about it, all that, not the concussion and his brain being mush and all that. I mean, the Miami Dolphins cannot score points, and it's a bummer for folks that were all in on Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. And if I'm not mistaken, last night, or was it early this morning, Tyreek Hill had a tweet that said, "Has anybody seen Tua or Waddle?" I mean, that's not your superstar wide receiver, a top 2, top 3 guy in all of football at the position is, they're aware of it. It's not like they're in the locker room or at practice going, we still got it, guys. We can go, we can move the ball. Miami's in a real tough spot right now. And everybody, down there is saying, or shoot, everybody even up here is saying, that their head coach needs to go now. I mean, that's how quick this stuff can get out of hand if a team just does not do what they're expected to do. So the New England Patriots host the Miami Dolphins. The over-under, last I look, is at like 35.5 points, which is nuts because look at a game like Green Bean. I'm already thinking of Thanksgiving. The Packers at the Rams, that game is just shy of 50 total, over-under points here. So to a professional football game, 35.5 or under is very tough sledding. And I have the New England Patriots to win around like 17-10. So the opposing team barely going to crack double-digit points. Then what my question was is, I'm so effing long-winded sometimes, and my apologies for that. How highly owned is the New England DST going to be? Because that's like the slam dunk play. If I went to my old man neighbor, he would go, "Oh yeah," just quickly, having looked at nothing. Everybody's going to gravitate to New England, which is a fantastic play. But if it's, 40 to 50% owned, it's not going to get us anywhere. How high do you think the Patriots DST is going to be owned today?
So they're coming in 5th, right around 10% or so. And just to put that into context, Broncos are number 1. Broncos are going to be around 20%. But yeah, so I mean, I mean, let me see how much I have of them at MME. I'm sure I have a decent amount. They've got them at 8%. They are my 1, 2, 3, 4. They're my 5th defense. So I'm pretty much right in line with them. I mean, they are pretty cheap. To go back to your whole Tua remark, it's not that I don't think it's that Tua is, special in any way. I think there's not many teams in the league that have a capable backup quarterback. So when, Tua goes down, if Joe Flacco, for example, was on the bench, how much do they lose? I don't know, but there's a big difference between Skylar Thompson, Huntley, than a guy like that. I mean, hell, even if they had, and we, this might be funny, but even if they had a Sam Howell or something like that, somebody who at least can throw the ball, I don't think it'd be as big of a drop off. But some teams, I would say our Lions included, when that quarterback were to get injured, the drop off is pretty drastic. So it's more a matter of, Tua is a mid-level, quarterback, but the drop off is huge. I mean, Skylar Thompson is terrible. Tyler Huntley, no. So I think that's more that's the problem. Again, AR-15 goes down, and what do? We go, oh wow, now all of a sudden I want to play Josh Downs, and Michael Pittman's a great play. It's the opposite in Miami, where Tua goes down and no one's playing Tyreek Hill, who is, the most explosive player in football, an absolute DFS dream. But, if I'm at quarterback, good luck getting the ball to Tyreek Hill,
We need a Mike White game. Remember what he pulled for the Jets? Was that last season or the season before? And I don't even know.
Like 3 or 4 years ago. But yeah.
Mike White
can throw the ball.
Yeah.
Skylar Thompson can't. He's just not a good quarterback. I mean, it just is what it is, man.
Yep, and it's 12:50 Eastern time. We're about 10 minutes away from the 1 p.m. lock, so make sure you have your fantasy teams set, or you're still fooling around. Who will I, won't I? And we go from there. When I look at lastly the Washington Commanders DST, nothing crazy there. We've kind of repeated ourselves here, and we'll move on because we're looking to fill time, let's say, because of the big. Well, we can label this the big Detroit Beastie computer crash of 2024. Although I'm not that important of a person where folks are going to be like, "Did you see Beastie's computer crashed?" And we move on from there. I have a nice little parlay, a sports book parlay. Keith and I have tried to, on the fly, if we have time, and we have around 9 minutes now, just put together a little parlay, a sports betting parlay, whether it's player props, whether it is a, point spreads, and we'll go from there. I deserve to be, put over a barrel one-on-one. Dave splits for a second. I did it to him for probably almost 10 minutes the last time around. So when I look at this one, Buffalo is playing the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans in their own right have these big lofty goals for the season. And again, who cares about, down the road? We're just looking at week 5 here. Buffalo playing in Houston is going to be a fantastic game. I have around 50 total points scored in this one, but you're telling me the Buffalo Bills and their offense, you can take them plus points. I think Buffalo wins outright, and you can get Buffalo plus 1.5. And I don't think that line is moved simply because Khalil Shakur, however you want to say it, is out. But as it stands right now, you can get the Buffalo Bills plus points on the road. I'm going to take that all day. And we mix it in with the Seattle Seahawks are hosting the New York Giants. So Seattle coming off, it was a loss in Monday Night Football a few days ago, but Seattle was like a well-oiled machine on offense. I mean, every time you had the game on, or whether you're at work or whatever you're doing, you just updating the score, the Lions would score, and then the Seattle Seahawks would score almost, immediately, if not that, a few 5 to 10 minutes later. And Seattle's at home. Probably you would guess they're pissed off, they're upset, and they get to host the New York Giants, who are not that good of a football team themselves as it stands. So give me the Seattle Seahawks minus 7.5 points. I have Seattle to win by around 14 points. So if you wanted to get nuts, you could parlay Buffalo plus 1.5 and take the Seattle Seahawks minus 10, minus 12.5 if you wanted to. And then lastly in this parlay, Cleveland is at Washington. We've talked about little drips and drabs of this team is there as well. I think Washington wins outright at home against the Cleveland Browns, 28-21, let's say. So the point spread now is Washington -3.5. As I said, I have them to win by around 7 points. So you could, tease that Washington -5.5. You parlay that with Buffalo plus 1.5, Seattle -7.5 points. And you got a little 3-legged parlay. Not really. I'm just used to putting a lotto ticket together, right? Where you 5 teams or 5 player props, and it's like plus, 75,000, and it's like $1 would net you $7,000, and it's like they don't often hit, but it's just 1 or 2 legs shy of some big money. This 3-team prop, 3-player prop, team prop, however you want to put it, is in good standing ground as it stands now. Before we split, Dave, anything you want to get to this last quick fire kind of round? Just rattle some teams off or names off and what you're doing.
Well, there's one thing that I mentioned why you were disconnected that you clearly missed, and I think it's funny because you kind of talked about it, but not really. My absolute favorite thing to play today is the Cincinnati and the Baltimore Ravens game. I have no idea. It's set up so perfectly if this works, which means that it won't. But it's set up so perfectly. The only one in this game that is garnering any ownership at all is Derrick Henry. And I get it. I love Derrick Henry as much as the next guy, but all the pass catchers in this entire game, quarterbacks included. I mean, I guess I'd have to see Lamar's ownership real quick before I say that. Lamar is relatively high owned, but it doesn't matter because it's the Cincinnati side of things that I'm so interested in. Burrow's like outside of the top 10 in ownership. Ravens have been getting demolished through the air this year. I am so heavy on Cincinnati stacks. It's not even funny. And when I was talking about this was when I was talking about Eric All. You were talking about Gesicki. I took Gesicki on my player pool. It's actually Eric All for me. So much cheaper. I feel like the ceiling's probably higher. He's been getting more snaps each week. I honestly think he's the tight end 1 at this point in Cincinnati, but they're also cheap. There's so many ways you can go. The bring back, it can be Zay Flowers, who's also extraordinarily cheap. He's had 2 terrible weeks. This is just a game where, if they scored 80 points, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I love Burrow double stacks. You've got, you can play it with Chase, you can play it with Higgins, you can do whatever. But something you had said earlier that I kind of set aside for my opportunity, to make mention of it, is you were talking about, what to do with the tight end position. And one of my favorite things to do, and I talked about this while you were gone, is I love to take the tight end position when it's a shitty week like this week where, the chalk is, players, is to take my stack that I want to play and just fire the tight end in there. It gives you nice correlation. If you're right that, that quarterback in that game is going to have a good day, all it takes is, for that tight end to catch a touchdown and you're golden. So for me, I love double stacking Burrow with, Chase or Higgins and throw, all in there. And I don't even mind one bit going Chase, Higgins, and all in that same game. I truly think that this is a game that is ridiculously underowned. And just know that if the Bengals have a huge day, specifically through the air, that's going to be a great day for yours truly.
And I think they will. Now I know I mentioned the final score, and I thought it was going to be, higher than most, 31-27, 31-28. And it was on my radar. But when you look at this game on FanDuel, let's say price tag, none of them fit into the mold of the self-imposed, cap of prices in bottom of the barrel. Because if I were to mention, we could put Jamar Chase, that wouldn't be too bottom of the barrel, given the fact that he's 9-3 on FanDuel, but the DVP is sweet across the board. And I guess I did miss an opportunity, but every game has its own, life force or rotation, however you want to put it. As you were talking, I could see a case where we could put Justice Hill, Chase Brown, and Andre Yosevich in the same, lineup. That all 3 of those price tags on FanDuel, at least, they fit the mold. Justice Hill, 5.9 on FanDuel. Cincinnati, 22nd overall against running backs. Chase Brown, $6,100 on FanDuel. Baltimore third against running backs, but Andre Yosevich only $5,500 on FanDuel, and we've already seen him. Has he supplanted T. Higgins as a wide receiver too? Probably not, but it's looked like that so far because T. Higgins is basically going through the motions like a zombie, and we'll go from there.
He's been hurt. I think. I mean, you very easily could see one of those T. Higgins blow-up games today. 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. I would be thrilled.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
I mean, I'm a little bit heavier on Chase, but T. Higgins is like projected for like 3% ownership. And you can't tell me that, him having 8-10 catches, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns would be mind-blowing. Against this Baltimore defense, I could absolutely see it. But I do like the Justice Hill thing, because if this game does get out of hand, let's say that Cincinnati gets up 21-0 early on. Derrick Henry's coming out of the game, not entirely, but Justice Hill is going to be getting a lot of the work there. So If you want to lean into that and say, hey, you know what, I want to go completely centric on this game. Give me Burrow, Higgins, Chase, all, and then bring it back with Flowers and Hill. That's a Millie Maker type lineup where if that game goes 45-40, that could be the nuts.
Absolutely. And we are probably under 1 minute where we have seconds left in this thing. It's like diffusing a bomb. Actually, it is every week. It's like diffusing a bomb in our lineups leading up to the 1 p.m. lock. So T. Higgins, 186 yards and 2 scores. Stat line incoming. Everybody be good, be safe. Thanks for filling in, Dave. You stepped in to help out, and then I left you high and dry. You're a pro. And for that, I thank you. Everybody out there watching, be good, be safe, and you'll see my face again soon. Sunday Night Football, single game slate video, and we'll do it all over again. Make sure you hit the website at fantasy6pack.net, sign up, tag us in Discord, and we will see you from there. Bye-bye.